that died in a little sex toy.
We hot mic, but keep going.
Hey, carry on.
Yeah, just let you know.
But yeah, so I think that's good. But I don't know. The list is overblown.
That's gonna be a good wild card weekend.
Let's go find some safer territory over here in the fairway. I think we're good.
No, we good.
Yeah.
Just went live. Just started up.
Yeah.
Now. So I'm just checking, make sure.
I'm on it.
All right, I'm trying to find it. Hold on.
Yeah. I gotta get a new phone, man. This Android has been failing me lately.
You're like the last man with an Android.
Nah, I got an Android. Don't do
You're
that.
like the only dude with an iPhone.
You could have kept it quiet, man. Oh wait, you're Android too?
I'm proud of my Android.
You can't even hide that.
Yeah, but I got a real Android though. I don't got them cheap shits.
Oh
Like,
man, Bryson, we're outnumbered 3-2.
I have the shit the iPhones want to be, bro.
We're the minority.
Bryson, we're surrounded by dinosaurs.
We got proud Android users, man.
Now listen, iOS kept me from keeping it. iPhone's always behind on shit that I needed to not be.
You guys believe in Elon Musk and this world that he's bringing in?
But what is he doing?
New World Order.
Take it up the hill.
It's a colors thing, man.
The New World
You
Order.
lit? You good?
Yeah. Appreciate you,
Why,
man.
why can't
You
I?
know it.
If I don't see you when you're done, I'll holler at you.
All
You're
right,
heading
know
out?
it.
But
Not
I
yet.
probably ain't gotta
Okay.
stick around. My son took my car, so I gotta catch a ride.
Okay. Jesus.
Yeah. Did you find it on yours?
No,
I done that?
I'm still struggling.
Find what?
The show.
The show?
You trying to
He
share
wasn't
it?
even on that.
I showed him
No, it was
the page
on,
earlier.
You find out who's else on the list.
He was on Tinder, man.
No.
That's
That's not my cup of
I
tea.
saw how
That's
big
not
she
your cup
was.
of tea. Hey man, don't
Bubba's a big dating app guy.
don't take a
You're a
piss
big
on
dating
Tinder,
app guy, man.
Yeah,
That's
where
why
we
you find
get
these
this-
Haitian girls.
That's where we
at?
get a lot of our, that's where we get a lot of our content.
You find these Haitian girls. at?
I found a couple on there, but I'm in the trenches, man. So I found them out and about.
I found it.
Yeah, man.
I'm not getting any type of signal. All right, here we go.
Yeah, man.
Out and about.
I learned, man, the Haitian fried fish. A lot of people
That's
love
good, man.
a lot of people love the Jamaican fried fish, man, but I prefer
Now we got better dishes than
I think so.
Not chill out.
The black rice.
Yeah.
You know what I
you know
mean?
what's going on.
I'm not a pork guy, but I hear a lot of good things about,
It's what it is, man. Yeah, I'm glad. You've been to Bon Appetit, man, on Orange Blossom Trail, OBT.
They tell me no, but the best I can't say because I haven't been to Bon Appetit, right? But the best Haitian food spot to me is on Colonial. It's I have the name down on my phone, but you
Bryson, you
ever been?
gotta
It's like
move-
a small shop.
Move back toward
Creole Cafe.
Creole Cafe.
You been
No,
there?
I've been
I
there.
tried that.
I've been to Creole Cafe, but that's
The
not
light
the
skinned
one I'm
lady that
talking
runs it.
Shit, I remember.
You know,
That's like 3 years ago, man. But I tried it.
I know. her.
Yo, you
She's
got
a
it.
nice
Ser-
lady. She-
get
put
yourself-
the stuff
I'm
on.
in there.
Oh, he's in there.
about.
Do I need to put this on?
Yeah, you
don't-
can.
you
You
don't-
don't
yeah,
have
you
to.
don't have
but-
to.
Okay.
But you
That
do.
shit out.
Yeah.
It's not better than Jamaica food. You gotta chill out with that.
No, it isn't.
It is.
It is.
It
It
is.
is. It's
It
more
is.
flavored, man.
Damn.
And also because
First outnumbered with the iPhone, and now he's trying to defend
because
Jamaica.
there's so many Jamaican food spots, right? You got to find
It's watered
the-
down.
Yeah.
Yes, that's the reality.
Yeah.
No, you in the Haitian restaurants, they'll be cutting with the onions in the back. It's
It's
not
authentic.
real.
Most
Yeah,
you'll find probably over 80% of Haitian spots are really authentic.
yeah. It's
Yeah,
hard to
it's
find
just-
It's hard to find just a generic.
In Orlando, though, I think there's a lot of
There's not
Haitians
really.
in Orlando.
I mean, there's not enough Haitian restaurants to be not generic. There's no like brand.
Yeah.
Bon Appetit, they have 2 locations. I know that.
Goddamn sellouts.
Success, man.
God forbid
Success.
they open a third.
But they're good. I'm telling
Might
you.
as
one on
well be
OBT,
McDonald's.
What? That's good, man.
I'm in Griot's, guys. I tried that.
Hmm?
Griot? How you say
You
it?
know
How you
you-
say it?
you
How you
said
That's
say
it.
it?
that's
said
what
it
the
right.
pork. That's why I
It's
say I'm not a
fried
pork
pork.
guy.
That
But,
shit is good.
but yeah, I hear everybody say it's crazy good.
The macaroni too. You gotta have Haitian.
I need to try
macaroni.
lagoons.
That's the
though.
one thing I can't get down.
What-
But it's,
what
it's
is-
the,
You don't like
it's the
that? What's-
aesthetic. I can't try it because the way it
The
y'all
way it
make
looks.
All right. The
It-
mayonnaise, something.
Oh my gosh, I can't. Yeah, I just
What's the secret ingredient in it? Like, what-
let them tell them.
There's mayonnaise in it. There's ketchup in it, but you can't see it.
You see what I'm
it.
saying?
Like school-
Macaroni.
No, but
School
you can't.
lunch,
You
school
can't
meal.
see it though.
You
It
can't
just
see
looks
it.
like
no,
mac.
you can't see
But
it.
I'm telling you, just try it. Go.
I
to
do not,
OBT.
Lord. No, I'm not.
I'm gonna text you the address.
I'm a franchise only guy, man.
I see this. I see
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
You trying to get sponsorship right now?
Yeah, exactly. Here we go.
The one
Front
dish you
center,
gotta
yeah.
explain is that spaghetti with hot dogs cut up in it.
You
You know
know,
that
like-
shit is Yeah,
that stuff is good, man.
That shit
I don't
can't
eat
be
it though. I used to eat it
Yeah.
back in the day when
That
I
looks
used
like
to
some
eat
Back in
school
the day.
shit.
When I used to
That
eat
shit
meat.
look nasty.
Nah, it's
before
good,
you
man.
before
It's
you
good.
made it big.
Shit.
Listen, finally the big I stepped out.
That's some baby food, man. But
Nah, that's
Y'all go
classic.
off,
That's
man.
classic Haitian breakfast. Yeah.
That does
That
sound
was
like
what-
something you'd feed a toddler. Though.
it's literally cut up hot dogs and spaghetti.
Yeah, I was gonna
That shit
say
look
like,
crazy.
you feed that to
You
like
didn't
some
try it, though?
toddler.
Hell no.
You must go to a lot of Haitian. You gotta.
I tried a lot, to be honest.
Why did you go to some? You have a Haitian girl or something on the side? Yo, I mean, that's no. I'm just saying. You
She
know
gonna
a
put
lot.
curse on me.
You know a lot about
I just
Haitian-
fuck with Caribbean food. That's low key one of my top.
You
top
just
foods.
randomly just put that on GPS.
I mostly
maps.
get Jamaican food, but on Uber Eats, I get a little Haitian food around here.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's nice.
You need to go to. I'm telling you, go to
Bon
Bon
Appetit.
Appetit before you leave here.
You haven't been
I'm
there.
gonna try that too now.
No,
There's a-
you
there's a
need to
lot-
go.
there's a lot in
That's
LA.
the best
It's
one.
sad, he's only
No,
got about
but
15,
no, but
he's
that's
only got
the
about
best one
he's only got
that
about
I've
15
seen.
hours left.
Yeah.
I get spaghetti for
And I ain't stopping there on the way home.
Hey, Haitian spaghetti. That's
12,
another
just
one.
get there by 12
yeah.
o'clock. They'll hook you up.
You want me to pull up? I'll come and slide by 8 p.m. and send a text to your DM. Buy honey for your fucking hair. 200 for your fucking nails.
I gotta start that over.
You want me to pull up? I'll come and slide by 8 p.m. and send a text to your DM. Buy honey for your fucking hair. 200 for your fucking nails. You running out of shoes to wear, so I bought you another pair. Girl, I got you another dress, so bring your ass up down them stairs. I buy you shit because you rare, and plus because you know I care. Bitch, you know you love it here, that's why you keep on coming there. Your nigga can't compete, I swear. He tried but now he look too weird, baby. I'll come and slide by 8 p.m. and send a text to your DM. 500 for your fucking hair. 200 for your fucking nails. You running out of shoes to wear, so I bought you another pair. You running out of shoes to wear, so I bought you another pair.
I'll come and slide by 8 p.m. and send a text to your DM. 500 for your fucking hair. 200 for your fucking nails. You running out of shoes to wear, so I bought you another pair.
It's like even when they kind of propagate it when they're from somewhere. You know what I'm saying too? Because it makes them also.
Feels
Oh,
some
look,
type of way.
look
Yeah,
tougher or
just-
whatever.
yeah,
I got you.
All right, welcome back, guys. You are back on the bench podcast with Bubba and Pink, home of sports, music, and mayhem. We are available on all, and I do mean all podcast streaming platforms, including here on YouTube. Please like, share, subscribe, all of that good stuff. All right. We have Coach Darnell in the building. You're doing a little bit more than coaching these days, though, right? Right?
Well, you
No?
know, a little
bit,
bit,
you-
a little
you-
bit of
you-
everything. Ownership, a little bit of this. Carry a lot of hats with me. Yeah.
Yeah.
There you go. I thought he was also a Haitian food critic. Unofficial.
He's going to start his own blog page. And
He's
let
going to
us
have
know.
the Haitian restaurant Zagat.
Haitian men are a little bit of everything. You gotta learn.
There you go. There you go. We've had two.
Bubba, be careful. It's your competition.
We've had two Haitian women callers in, and they haven't had a lot of nice
Positive
things to say about you guys. So that's nice. We have a good, strong Haitian man in the building
It's about time.
with his head on his shoulders.
Fuck Reggie.
I'm gonna clip that out and send it to him. Yeah. And do you want to present yourself outside other than Pink Jr.? What I have here on the,
It's
in
Pink
the
Jr. You
description
already
here.
know what it is. On my debut, y'all gonna know what it's all about. Brian Pink's son, soccer player, former player of Darnell. Saved his
go.
legacy. I might legacy. I might have to add that.
It's true.
Said that shit true.
And of course, we got a lot of good things to talk about as always. Breaking news earlier: Nick Saban has retired. Decided to retire here. We have Coach Spo getting a big contract extension after a major
Life achievement.
Life achievement. The NBA is headed to Netflix. NFL playoffs
Wait a
is
minute,
around
really?
the corner. Yeah.
Oh no, a show. I got you.
quarterback.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
You know, I'm just trying to tease it a little bit. You know.
Yeah.
We're gonna get there a little later, but
We'll
you
get there a little bit.
gotta tease the women first, man. Shout out to our women listeners. We do have quite
That's
a
for
few.
y'all, man.
Bryson, you got a comment for the lady listeners?
Matter of fact,
That's
our
for y'all, man.
first one has commented. Good evening, fellas. Yes, good evening, Ebony.
Pretty straightforward.
Her name Ebony.
Yeah, Jimmy
Don't know
Green.
about them ones.
But I usually start the show off with something. You know, I just been thinking about my thoughts here. You know, something a terrible thing happened in Orlando last weekend, downtown Orlando. One of the reasons, like my cousin hit me up for New Year's, like I asked him what he was doing. He's like, "Yeah, I'm going downtown." I was like, "All right, well, yeah, you can go by yourself, man. I'm good on that, man." And a guy was murdered. A lot of people know him in the city of Orlando. And the reason I won't say his name, of course, a lot of people know, and you can look it up and things like that. But you know, they're still investigating. But there's a heavily rumored story that is going on, and that led me to thinking, because what they're saying is that he got into an argument with someone, and again, this is a rumored story. I don't know this to be true, but it just goes to what I was thinking. And he was arguing with this guy, and this guy, you know, had the lady with him, his girlfriend with him, and the argument got heated, and he spit on the girl, the guy's girlfriend, and that led to him being shot and killed and things like that, right? And so it led to me
Wait,
thinking.
the shooter spit on the girl or the deceased spit
The
on the
deceased.
girl? Okay.
The deceased, again, heavily rumored. I did not know that to be true. It's not in the news, and I wasn't there. But and also, that's not even my leading point here. My leading point is, you know, I wonder, as like a man, when you do get into an altercation, or when you see it about to be heading into an altercation, when is it time, and is there a time to just dip out? You know what I mean? And say, if you do have your girl there, or if you do have friends there, does your ego come into play? When is it really time? Because you have the ego at play, you have the testosterone at play, you got all these things at play, and we can sit on the sideline and we can decipher what should have been done or what should have been done. But like, when you're in that place, you know, what can be done. And also, we're in a place now where not too many people are just fighting and going home and watching Netflix that night. They're shooting. And even if they do fight, you beat this guy up, this guy might still, the guy that got beat up might go to the car and come back and shoot you just because you beat him up. It's a wild place now, you know.
Yeah.
So, you know, what do you guys stand on that? Is it, you know, when it's altercation time?
My thing is, there's a guy on Jocko Willink. He's like one of the special forces guys. He's on a lot of podcasts now. Like, he literally said the first thing that you should do when a fight is coming is run. He goes, as long as you have freedom of movement, move away. There's nothing really to be gained. And that's a guy who could kill lots of people, probably has. You know, and he's saying, like, at the end of the day, getting out of that situation and living another day is more important than, you know, taking that out of your hands and putting it in somebody else's, whether it be ego or, you know, or whatever motivates you to continue and engage in that fight. Because they're unpredictable situations, and a lot of times they're situations that never end. Like, you have the fight, maybe you get the better of the guy, then he wants to shoot you, now you're, you know, walking around town unsafe or with security and all that, and you enter a realm that's just mentally and physically exhausting and draining, you know. Tactically, purely tactically, a one-on-one fight is usually not a good idea. I mean, if you want to get rid of somebody, element of surprise. Walk away then, come back and fire later.
Hold on. I was like, where's he going with that? But,
No, I'm not gonna. Why would I attack you from the front when you're aware I'm attacking?
I mean, that's what I'm saying. Like, and what you were just saying about like how, if you run away, like I think there's also a culture where like if you do run away, especially if you're in that kind of lifestyle, you kind of get like that social pressure of like, why'd you run away? Like you'll get clowned and shit like that.
Yeah.
And like that's why a lot of people feel like they have to do something then and there
For sure.
because the noise and the Instagram
But
post that
you're,
comes after.
but the thing is like, I mean, it's almost like read like Sun Tzu and stuff like that. Like that's not the way to do that. You don't want to attack strength. You want to attack weakness.
There's no
And
rules.
so
in this
you're
type of
really
shit,
just
though.
kind of naive and stupid if you're going to allow ego or what other people are going to say about you dictate the terms in which you engage in a fight.
But that goes to his point and to your point, meaning that that's a higher level of thinking you're thinking about.
Well, I'm not here to be an idiot, Darnell.
I don't disagree.
I mean, hey, if the unwashed masses want to make bad decisions, I can't
agree.
stop it.
I agree.
I mean, I'm here to try and educate.
Yeah, I agree because I mean that's why I avoid confrontation at all costs.
Unless
because,
somebody calls you on the phone. Got some words.
Yeah, Twitter warrior.
I mean
Cussed out in Creole.
my personal opinion is I avoid that stuff because I know that the extent that I'm willing to go. So that's why I avoid it because I know that I don't want to put myself in a scenario to where I just had an incident not too long ago, not in terms of a confrontation, but somebody that I was with, and they were doing things that I thought was a little irrational. And I just told them that you need to stop doing that because you're going to put yourself in a scenario to where that I'm going to have to defend you. And if I have to defend you now, and for you it's okay because you're not really thinking that deep. But I know already that, and there was a guy walking around with a teardrop in his eye, right? And then this guy's walking around with a teardrop in his eye. And then this person's telling me how, that could just be fake. And I'm like, look, that could be fake. That could be.
But
the chance is not. And I know already if he's serious, then I have to now deal with that scenario.
Yeah.
And I know where I'm willing to go, but I don't want to go there because I have training tomorrow. You know what I mean? And I have my family. So if I have to do all this, people that are serious, they think like what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Those other guys who are not serious, someone spits on you, you shoot them in the face, now you're facing life in prison. And that's really what it comes down to. But most people that are leading that culture that Bryson's talking about, they don't think like the ones who are just going to be shooting people in the face and end up in prison. That's why they have other people doing that stuff.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? That's really the reality of it.
Yeah.
And so that culture is led by, it's a foolish culture, but usually the ones that are pushing that energy, they think more like Brian's talking about.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Now, you got Kinsley. Shout out to Coach Pink. Always,
Oh, yeah. He's, I believe Kensley's Haitian.
always best
Went to
to
Winter
leave.
Springs?
Got,
Kenzie Hilaire?
Yeah.
That's
always best to leave. Got too much to lose. No, that's a good comment for sure.
Yeah.
But okay, so what if you're on the other side of that, right? And say you are the guy, and you're with your girl in downtown.
Yeah.
Oh, not downtown, just anywhere. All right. And there is a guy, and he does somehow violate your girl, spit on her, shove her.
How's
whatever.
the girl been acting lately?
Look at this dude. But that goes back to the same point, though. Like there's also a pressure. Like if someone does something to your girl, you gotta
Yes, a
take
big
it even
pressure.
further. And sometimes your girl's the one that be telling you to do that.
I mean,
So what's
I think
there
Brian,
to
I
do?
think Brian covered it. I mean, if it really comes down to that, then you got to think about, how you're gonna get at him in another way.
I'm going to choose to release you back to the streets now, lady.
But yeah, because if you don't do nothing, she's leaving your ass.
No,
you
but-
gotta understand that.
No,
That's
concept.
why I'm
She's
saying,
leaving.
how good is she behaving at the moment?
What I'm saying is, if you got to his original point, meaning that if someone really comes at you in that kind of way, you just got to wait your turn. Meaning that I can't do this on, CCTV.
Yeah.
And I got to just wait.
Is
my
she
turn.
going to understand that?
That's not up to her because she's not the one putting it on the line, man.
You let me know when you find a woman that understands anything.
But can you imagine a way that you can actually leave that situation after you get spit on?
You know what I mean?
Like,
I
what do you
can't
do? Like, just wipe
imagine.
that shit off and just start walking away? Or, I mean, you gotta do something.
That's why a gentleman should have a handkerchief.
Oh my god!
Shit.
I couldn't
you gotta be
imagine
bigger
that.
That's
than-
what I'm saying. I don't know how that de-escalates.
Yeah.
You got to be
I-
bigger than your emotions when you're serious.
Exact-
man.
yeah.
You got to be bigger
Yes,
than your emotions. You
yes.
got to learn. There's a phrase that talks about the man who holds the power is because he bends low enough to raise it. You see what I'm saying to you? So you got to learn to bend yourself low. So in that moment, you got to be bigger than that moment to know you're going to come back and get that person. And that's really it.
that sounds like a lot of Martin Luther, man, and I got a lot of Malcolm in me. You know, like a.
But even by the end, Malcolm had changed.
Yeah, he had changed, I guess, and
Right
became
before they
friends.
shot him.
Yeah, I know. So maybe he shouldn't have changed.
Stay dangerous.
But no, but I like a one-on-one thing. I understand. I could be the bigger man. I could leave, even in front of a crowd or anything. You know what I'm saying? Whatever, man. You got this. Okay, I'm this. I'm that. Yeah, you got it. But like, yeah, but a girl in the girl scenario, that is different, man. I honestly don't know how I would react, and I don't think no one would until they get in that situation. But that is a different fucking
And there's
scenario.
like an element that you have to think about, like your protective instincts react at that
Yeah.
point. You're not even thinking about you, but like if someone attacks your little brother or somebody like this, like your immediate instinct is just to protect or do something. So like there's like that natural animalistic thing that
Which kind of goes to the point when you're talking about the guy you were with and he's acting irrationally, and then you felt I may have a duty to protect this
Yeah.
person.
It was actually a woman who was
Woman,
acting.
okay, my
Yeah,
bad.
who was acting.
Assume you're
around.
hanging out with a dude. I don't know. Call me crazy.
little Gady, bro.
But yeah, I mean that's a fair point too.
Yeah.
You know, I don't know. It's complicated for sure.
You just shouldn't get in that situation. I mean, like you said, you're not the type of person that would ever get in that situation.
No,
Already why
no,
you're
for
thinking
real.
about that, but we're talking about people that they live a certain type of way that they kind of attract that energy.
But that's
that comes to
yeah. I mean, that's why like if you are that type of person and you live in that sort of way, I don't always have a lot of sympathy for it.
Yeah.
It
That's
just
true
you know
to
it's
that.
kind of like okay this you project this way, and sometimes the chickens come home to roost. There was a guy he was a couple years younger than me. He was an asshole. And I knew, like, from the days we were playing Pop Warner football, he was an asshole. And years later, like, I don't know, either late teens, early 20s, he got shot in the face and killed. And I was kind of like, good move. Like, we got rid of him. It's okay. Like, it's...
He always takes on a little, like,
we
you think he's going
lose.
to say something, and
We
then he just goes straight to this.
We
you know?
didn't lose anything of value in this transaction. We lost an obnoxious guy who finally, the chickens came home to roost for him.
Yeah, yeah.
Let's keep it Malcolm.
Yeah, I remember Brand Nubian's Lord Jamar, and he was talking about that. He said in the beginning of his career, they used to walk around with guns and do all this stuff. And he said at one point, he's like, dude, I just stopped doing that because he said I'm not pushing that kind of energy. And he goes, I never had any issues. But he said, I know a lot of guys, they're walking around with all these guns. It's also a projection because you need to have all these guns because what you're pushing out. I always tell people all the time because, Haiti is known as a dangerous place. But I don't feel endangered, and I'm in the real areas in Haiti, and I don't feel endangered because I'm not pushing that kind of energy. And I'm not saying something can't happen, and I'm very aware of my environment. But at the same time, I'm not pushing that kind of energy. So I don't feel like I'm going to bump into people that I somehow find the good inside the environment. I'm not finding those people that are attracting that. And if it does come, like I said, you got to be smart enough to understand. You got to read the scenario and know that is this time to act or is this time for me to fall back and I need to act later. If it's that serious.
Yeah. Reading the scenario, that's a very good point. Because even in this situation I'm talking about, like, if it's a stranger, you don't know this person. Like, I'm not having a heated argument with anybody, especially a fucking stranger, and especially not long enough for you to even spit on my girl, right? If you mad, I fucking hit your car on the way out, or whatever. You think I'm staring at you, whatever the case may be, man. I'm just not finna engage in a fucking long argument with you. With anything can happen in the course of this time. So yeah, you're right. You got to read the scenario for sure.
But to the gun thing, and because that's one of my big things that I've talked a million about, not being a Second Amendment guy, but I think that when people are armed like that, it gives an energy, and it also fuels like an insecurity that you have these weapons that you have some deficiency that you're willing to use them about. I also think it's one of the major issues in with law enforcement. We have almost a militarized law enforcement, particularly in urban areas, and that mentality, they're taking the street armed to the teeth. Like, that's different than taking the street without a gun. You have to behave differently. You have to move differently. And, when we arm ourselves, we're inviting armed conflict.
Yeah.
At some point, you have all the arms. Something's got to happen with them.
Yeah, I've never seen anybody, and I know a lot of people with a lot of guns, and I've never seen anybody with a lot of guns thinking that I just have these guns as, just they always feel like something is going to happen. My father grew up in the inner city, in a rough inner city kind of life. And the reason he said he didn't carry a gun is because he realized when he carried the gun, he always felt like, I may need to use this gun.
Yeah.
And that's actually why he stopped carrying it, because he said that it just gave me this thing like, well, I'm carrying this for a reason.
Yeah.
Compared to where if he has a conflict before, he's just going to get into words or whatever it is. And he was pretty hot-tempered. But he said that's why he stopped carrying it, because he knew, I'm going to use this eventually.
Yeah.
And I
So-
think that's interesting when you talk about, like, people want guns for, like, robberies and stuff like that. And maybe the robber has a gun. But if you have a gun and you pull that gun out against the robber, someone's dying.
Yeah.
If you have no gun, you're just getting robbed. But if you have a gun, too, then someone's getting shot. And you
Yeah.
kind of have to trust your instincts. So
Yeah.
also got to think about that.
And my other big point is like, you know, what type of just average guy who owns a gun is actually going to be proficient in the heat of the moment,
Yeah.
in under duress of essentially combat? Like, unlikely.
Yeah.
I mean,
That's why
you know,
innocent bystanders.
most people can't shoot a jumper with a hand in their face.
You included. We see you over there.
The last time we played basketball,
I beat you one-on-one.
no.
Don't bring
As
that up.
teammates,
Oh.
I was firing threes, and you decided at game point that you needed to get involved.
Well, I gave us the other 16
And we
buckets.
lost.
And
No,
then
you
the
didn't.
last two.
No, you didn't. I was like prime game 6 Klay Thompson.
You had your chance.
And you were the gang that
he's
couldn't
lying
shoot
his ass
straight.
off. You had
No,
your
I'm
chance.
not.
You had your chance to end the game. Ball came back to me. I had my chance. You had another
With the
chance.
expectation I
You
was
had
gonna get
you
it
had
back.
two- no, you had your chance. You had your final shot. You had your one shining moment. and he missed. So the ball came back to me. It's my turn.
It's not your turn.
Let Junior have some fun.
go
Paul.
back to
Let
you,
Junior have some fun.
you go
man.
back to the gunslinger.
Nah, you weren't hot. You were cold at that point.
I had already hit a couple
you
shots.
lost. You lost that little takeover circle you had.
One
That shit
shot
is
does
gone.
not define my heat.
Find the game, man.
We lost because of you.
Once again, you guys are on the bench, man. On the bench podcast with Bubba and Pink. We have a legend who has retired, man. Nick Saban, of course, that's the big, huge news now that's going over in sports. Nick Saban has decided to retire after all of his success. What are we talking? 5, 6
Was it
champions?
6 or 7
Something like
championships?
that.
Yeah.
At least
a
6, I
ton.
believe.
Yeah, exactly. A ton of titles. But did this surprise you? I mean, he's what? I think 72. Years
It
old?
surprised me that like it just happened today. Like it caught me off guard.
Yeah.
But like big picture, long view, it's like where do you go from here if you're him?
Yeah.
You know, there's no question that Georgia is the preeminent college football power. And they've had the better Alabama for the last couple of years. I mean, notwithstanding this one game this year. And trajectory-wise, they're ahead. And so if you're Saban, you look at this and go, I don't have many years left to do this. Can I catch and pass Georgia? Probably not. So if I can't do that, why am I doing this at 72 years old?
Yeah.
With 6 titles and whatever. You know, I can retire. I can whatever, you know, dabble with the TV, spend more time at the lake house and, you know, maybe bang Miss Terry a few more times.
What you think?
I mean, it's one of those things like, you know, Tom Brady and Coach K, like they already did the work for their career. So you can kind of say like they could have retired at any point and legacy would have been intact. I guess it's unfortunate for him that he kind of retired when Alabama started really stuttering and he really saw the flaws. But I mean, still a legend of the game. That's the go right there.
Yeah, I bet you he probably figured this year was going to be his last anyhow, and was hoping to go out on top. You know what I mean?
Don't we all?
And you know, you go out.
Only guy that did it was Kevin Samuels.
Peyton Manning. What about Big Peyton? Broncos championship, hey?
That was a different kind of joke.
Oh, I didn't catch that one.
Yeah.
Keep
yeah.
it G-rated.
That's a little older for me.
But you know, he leaves out on a Final Four appearance. You know,
Fraudulent.
Oh, man.
Asterisk.
But he leaves with that, and also he leaves the program in a very good space though. So a lot of the talk is, okay, who is going to come in and take over? It's big shoes to fill, but it's not like they're going to have to reset this thing. They just kind of have to keep it going. Yeah, you're in the ghost. You know, a lot of people say, I don't want to be the next guy to take over. I want to be the guy after the next guy. You know what I mean? But
I disagree. I think the program is in a precarious place. I think you will probably see some measure of transfers out of this program. The reality is they don't have a quarterback of high caliber right now. They haven't developed one, and with all due disrespect, I mean, Mac Jones was the last guy that they had that was an NFL caliber
all
guy.
due
Yeah, you heard
He's a scrub, bro. He's a scrub. But they don't have the most important position in the game settled. They don't have an elite guy at that, and the rest of the parts are moving parts. And I think you'll have some transfers come out of this with the uncertainty of who's going to get the job and whatever. The other thing with Nick is that he is not by design, but he's run through staff quite a bit. Like, he doesn't have like a head coach and waiting type guy on that staff, and so there's no obvious internal replacement at the moment. And who do you get? I think it's fascinating.
You need a statement because you
You
need
do.
a face. You need someone that still has that power and pull. Because I think it was a big thing in recruiting too.
I don't-
And his
I don't-
word,
I don't think you make a statement. I think you go a young, exciting, offensive-minded coach, and I think you go that way. I think there's too much pressure.
That would be interesting though.
I think it's too much pressure on a big name coach on coming in there. I don't think that's the way they should
Here's
go.
the thing.
And I
Why?
don't think that's the way
Why?
they should go. Huh?
Why?
Because if you go like just what's the guy's name that who was an assistant there? He jokes around a lot. He's cool with the rappers.
Kiffin?
Yeah, Kiffin, like Lane. Like Lane is an established coach who's had some level of success in college football, and he was under Saban, right?
Yeah, he goes with it.
So like if he was to interview and get the job, it's too much pressure for him to replicate or win like ASAP behind Saban versus if you get a young coach who can.
Whoever gets that job is going to get eaten alive.
If I was a coach, if I was a football coach, I'd want it because if you already have an established reputation, let's take a guy like Dion, right?
Yeah.
If Dion goes to Alabama, the recruiting power, especially with the way the transfer portal works now, you could build a giant overnight to be competitive right away. I mean, with the way the transfer
The
portal
money's
works
still
now.
there, too.
And the money's there.
And he brings his own quarterback.
Yeah.
No, I mean, when you said the words, it clicked. That's probably the best hire they could make.
But Alabama wouldn't do that.
Probably not.
I like that Lane Kiffin pick though. When you really think about it, Lane
but you-
Kiffin's not a bad pick. He's modern.
You become
He's
Alabama
modern.
Sanders. instead.
Lane's modern. He's very good, but he's also a guy that I think's more comfortable outside the mainstream than to be that. I think he would suffer in that role. I think Dion is so big and confident in his own way, and he's in such a different lane that the recruiting would be great. You already have players there, and he'd be one of the few guys that I don't think would buckle under the strain of being in that spot.
No, yeah. I mean, if you're a big time coach, you want big time roles.
Jobs,
yeah. I mean, that's it. And then what better job? You know how much recruiting you could do from Bama to take
But
it to the top.
the thing is though, it's like who else is in that list of candidates that would be a good fit?
Yeah, they named one guy who could be a possible replacement. I'm gonna see if I can find it. But in the meantime, I don't know as far as like in the conference, right? Georgia is the lead dog, and Alabama just defeated. You know what I mean? Georgia in the biggest game.
Yeah.
So that's another reason why I feel that he is leaving the organization, if you will, in a good spot. But do you think that a lot of the SEC teams have a big sigh of relief after this?
It's opportunity. You have to look at it as opportunity. Why wouldn't you? Nick and the Alabama have been getting high-level recruits from the South for years. They've been recruiting nationally for years. Now there's a little bobble at the very least. Like, that's an opportunity. Like, I'd be looking at their guys out of the portal. I'd be feeling like, hey, we don't have to go against him anymore.
Here are the 5 guys that they're saying now.
Early names.
Yeah, early names, but in order, this is from most possible to the least, right? So Dan Lanning is like the leading favorite. That's Oregon's head coach or coach. He's the lead favorite to grab the job.
Makes sense. He's young. He's aggressive. He was with Kirby in Georgia. I don't know if he was with Nick in Alabama at all. Do you know?
I don't see that
Yeah.
here. Yeah, he does stem from the Saban tree. Yes.
Right. Okay.
Yes. And has okay. Then you have Steve Sarkisian from Texas. I don't know if you leave. I don't know if you leave Texas for Alabama.
Yeah.
You think so?
No, I
I
don't.
mean, they're, going,
right,
I would.
they're going to
If-
SEC too.
If I'm comfortable,
you're
if
going
I'm
to the same
comfortable with
conference. Yeah, he's
Texas,
comfortable.
why do that?
Yeah,
Doesn't make
you're going to
sense.
the same conference. You've already got 2 or 3 years of equity building that
And
program.
strong
Why would
brand.
you give
Texas
that
is
up?
a strong
Strong
brand.
Absolutely.
State's a big.
Yeah.
And they're arguably in a better position with all these quarterbacks. And you got young Manning who hasn't even
Touch the field.
touched the field yet. Yeah. Mike Norvell.
No.
I don't think. No, I don't
We'll
think
keep
he
it,
would.
man.
I just don't think.
You don't
he
think
would.
so?
No, I don't.
After Florida State gets snubbed in the you're not going to get snubbed at
I think
Alabama.
that fired him up. I think that fired Mike up.
Okay.
I don't think it's gonna be a guy from a program that is there. It's gonna be somebody has something on the cusp of trying to be there.
That's
And
why.
it-
That's
it-
why Oregon is
that
a
makes
good.
sense.
you see what I'm saying?
Oregon
and they're
makes
gonna
sense.
say, "Now I'm gonna get that jump
Yeah,
and just
yeah,
take
yeah.
myself to that
Yeah.
position."
That's why the Oregon.
But
coach
someone
makes
who's
sense.
already right there, I don't see that.
Yeah.
Dabo is an interesting name.
Well, he played at Alabama, but I think he's old news. He's past his prime. I'm big on the Dabo's done.
Dabo's done.
Yeah,
I mean, we know Clemson is done, but it's
No,
Dabo.
he had because he's Clemson. He was slow to react to the transfer portal. He was slow to react to the NIL situation. He was off tone during the George Floyd protest stuff. He's not relevant. He's not that guy anymore.
Yeah.
So
He's the exact opposite of Lane. That's for sure. And then the last one is Kalen, Washington head coach,
Kalen DeBoer.
which also makes sense to your point as far as like
What
on
is
the
his
cusp.
background? Does he have any ties to the South?
So let's see. He coached Washington, 123, 104-12 record. It doesn't say that he has any ties to the South here.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I think you got to have some connection to the South to take that job.
Yeah, I agree. Because they
Very
also want to
hard.
feel like if you get in there, you know your way around to try to pull the
Exactly.
The
recruits.
Yeah.
recruiting ties.
Yeah.
But you
Recruiting
can get that
ties.
through your staff though as well.
You can.
Some guys
You
get it
can.
through the staff. They let them recruit.
But like you're already stepping into a tough situation, and if you're not that cultural fit either, there's
Hey, man,
they'll eat you up.
if I was Dion, I'd be like, look.
No, if I was
on top of that.
He can't do it again. He can't do it again.
He
though.
should do it. If
That's
I was
that's
Dion,
dirty
what?
work.
Why not?
He gets his son the number 1 pick, man, at Alabama. Come
Yeah.
on, man. You get his son number 1 out of the NFL.
Double backstab.
Yeah, huh?
First Jackson State, then
Yeah, that's-
Colorado.
that's
After
a
all
lot.
this
If
talk,
If you,
Nah,
but
that's
no,
a lot.
no, forget it.
Yeah,
if you
man.
think Deion's in this for anything other than Deion and his kids, you're a fool.
Yeah, you're full. Yeah, I agree.
If this is the best opportunity, he's going.
Yeah.
He's
I
going.
mean, he's not on the
and
list.
really, it almost works for both.
Yeah.
Because he'll come there with all of his cachet. They'll recruit well. They bring a quarterback. Even if he's there 1 or 2 years and leaves, here's the benefit of that. Now you can kind of bring somebody in, and you're not bringing him in under the shadow of Nick. You're bringing him after the circus of Deion, and that's an easier fit.
Yeah, but I
Deion
can't see.
basically sacrifices
Alabama
himself.
turning
Yeah,
into that
Alabama
kind
is
of
like a
program.
conservative. They're not. I don't see them going out of the box here, man. Like they're looking. The next coach they're looking to hire, ideally, they're looking like, okay, we need the next 20 years here. We need another, stability. I see a lot of New England Patriots in there, and maybe because the
'Cause
Saban
they're
came
buddies.
in and stabilized.
They're
Yeah,
buddies.
yeah.
I mean, they're doing Aflac commercials together.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? So that's I don't know. That's just
Dion,
what I
where
see.
Dion play again? What's
FSU.
FSU?
You
Come
didn't
on.
know that, bro?
No, I knew that.
Okay.
Relax. I'm just saying, but he has the connections, in the region.
Yeah, he's from Florida.
Yeah,
Ah,
come on.
Fort Myers.
He will recruit. Also, he's gonna recruit anyway. He goes,
Yeah.
and he would do well at Alabama. I just don't know. To his point again, can you leave again?
Yes, why not?
This is
Like, seriously,
yeah, this
why
is
he
not?
really hasn't even done much at Colorado yet.
I
think
get
he needs
it.
one more year to prove. If I'm Alabama,
There's nothing else to prove. Like you're
What you mean? They're 4-7.
what you're
or
hiring
something like
is
that.
the Deion circus. That's what you're hiring.
Yeah.
You're not hiring a guy to be anywhere for 20 years. That's not the hire.
I don't think Alabama is a team to take a chance on that.
for sure. No.
I think like Florida, FSU,
I would
USC.
I would say that
Teams like that are
it will
the
be
teams.
to their detriment if they don't. It'll be to their detriment.
Nah, that's a
You're
that's a
not
stretch.
replacing.
That's- yeah,
you're
that's-
not.
that's
I mean,
replacing.
culturally, look, they had Nick Saban and Lane Bryant. They've been that kind of. I think they're the
Lane
type
Bryant.
or who's
Isn't
the
that a female clothing maker?
who's the coach that was at Bama as a
Bear
statue?
Bryant.
Bear
Bear
Bryant.
Bryant.
I was talking about his sister.
You was close. You're talking about his sister.
But I think they're the type to actually consider character when they're hiring somebody. So I think that's going to be
Deion's a
something on
bad
the
character
criteria.
guy.
No, but like they
He
want to.
says
They want
God
to.
darn instead of goddamn.
They want someone like Nick, man.
If
They
that
want
ain't
to
the
save
big
it.
C, I don't know what is.
They want stability.
They're probably not going to get it though. Like I think they're fooling themselves.
I don't know if Alabama wants Lil Beasley on the sideline, man. After they go 3-0,
It'd be such a switch. But
you know. But we'll see, man. That's interesting, man. That's the huge news there, and we'll see where they go next. We don't have any issues, do we? Oh, okay. All right. I gotta make sure. Sometimes I have the mic on mute for an hour, and then
Consummate professional.
yeah. No, that's for sure. All right, so so from one coach and recruiting processes to another, I know you guys most recently. Pink was telling me you guys were scouting some players, maybe.
You was at that pro combine together.
Oh,
yeah.
I mean, you were more scouting, but we were taking a look.
Well, what that kind of is, Bryce and I were talking, and it was like the idea of like, well, when you go to like a combine for players, like, what are you looking for? What type of attributes are you looking at a person? Is it physical talent? Is it skills? Is it character? Is it some combination thereof? Or what do you see? Because obviously, if you're looking at a player, you want to project forward. Mm-hmm. What can this person become? Mm-hmm. And so what are you looking at in a setting that locks in and says, oh, I kind of like that guy. I think he might have something a little special.
And before you go, state who you are. I know you've been on the show before, but state who you are and what you do. Because we didn't do that off the top.
My name is Darnell Bernier. I'm a coach and owner of a soccer club in Gainesville, Florida. Been coaching for around 14 years and helped some guys turn professional and get them to college ranks. And I enjoy what I do.
Why are you talking like you're introducing like the Quiet Storm romance?
That's going to be his Tinder intro, right?
He's going to
clip that. You got to make that account, man.
I think I had.
The ladies are going to get carpal tunnel swiping right on right now.
Put on his voice for that one.
Damn.
But I mean, to kind of preface that whole combine thing, I mean, the first thing to understand that's kind of like a totally American concept. Like, that doesn't really happen in Europe. Like, these sort of like bring random players together, just play this kind of 11v11 and kind of like see what happens. So it was really chaotic. And I think that's kind of like, when I was coming into watching that, I was sort of I was disappointed a little bit because I didn't know what to expect in a sort of a combine situation. But as he kind of explains, you're kind of just looking for those flashes of ability of like what they could possibly do. And like, you're not looking for the whole product. You're not looking for them to have like a 90% pass completion, but you're looking for these moments that like, okay, that would work at any level, what he just did there. And you kind of want to collect those moments before you kind of make the kind of decision. I mean, you don't really know too much about character and stuff. It's a new group of guys, chemistry's really off. A lot of guys are trying to do their own thing.
To say that you're a little disappointed, though, what were you expecting when you showed up?
I just thought the game itself would be a little bit more organized. Like, it kind of felt like a lot of the play was rushed. So, like, you didn't see a lot of just ball possession and, like, true movement. It really was kind of like hero ball to a degree. It was better than hero ball, and this hero ball isn't like guys were trying to make the play. So, like, there wasn't a lot of, like, the game wasn't as structured as you'd like to see. So it was a lot of back and forth, a lot of open spaces. So, like, it's kind of hard to tell, like, is this what the game really looks like if I put that player in this game? But as I said, he kind of like put it into a frame of reference for me to kind of start to look for the right things.
Was it easy for you to see like athletes separate themselves, like the better athletes separate themselves from other athletes? Just speaking from athletic standpoint.
Not really. It was a pretty even, athletically speaking, it was pretty even.
Okay.
A lot of these guys were all playing at the high college level or they played at the USL Championship, MLS level. So everyone kind of had a good resume. So these guys are at the same level physically and also technically. But yeah, just so you guys know what this combine was, it was a lot of, like I said, like a lot of former professionals or guys working for contracts or guys playing at sort of like bigger ACC schools, and also some guys like Darnell had a few players, and some smaller schools as well. But it was a high level for the U.S. speaking.
For when I'm looking at the combine had guys who are currently in this MLS draft from like UVA, stuff like that. So they had some big time guys there. Clemson, who just won the national title. They probably had about 10 Clemson players out there.
Oh, really? Okay.
Oh, yeah. It was that kind of level. But when I'm looking at those things, most of the time at those levels, it's not going to be physical attributes that separate you. Because, like he's saying, most of the players there, if you got invited there, you're good physically and you're good technically, good enough to play at a good level. The difference is it's your brain, meaning the consistency of your decisions. So when I'm at those things, I'm not looking for team structural things. I'm looking for the guy who has the physical tools, but then the mental understanding of the game, that I could see that his individual decisions that he's making will work in a good team structure? And does he have physical tools to impose in the position that he's playing? So that's what I'm looking for. So you kind of got to zone out from a team structural way, because there's going to be open spaces, of course, because it's a combine. So there's not defensive team concepts and all these things like that. What you have to look for as a player, what kind of decisions is he making? Most of the time, it's the brain that separates the players when you get to the highest level. Whenever you see a guy is physically dominant, with the exception of a few players like a Kylian Mbappe or something like that, but most guys he's in the French league, which is, very good physically, and he could still kind of separate himself, right? So, but there's very few characters like that. So most of the time, what you're looking for is the decisions of the players, meaning even a winger, when do they take the guy on, what moves are they trying to make to create their opportunities. Then you could kind of see this guy's consistent in his approach and his ideas. Because most players, what separates the pro from the amateur or the good level pro is the consistency of their brain, meaning do they see the game in a consistent pattern, or is it kind of scattered brain? And so you'll see guys with talent, but they're scattered in their thoughts. So they cannot really get to their ability, even though they have the ability to be impactful, especially when at those kind of combines. Because you'll see a lot of players who have flashy moments. But what you're looking for is, as a scout, there was this guy, Jorge Avial, he scouted for a lot of people in Europe and the U.S., and he always told me a lot of scouts get caught in the moment. And that's what a lot of people do. So they'll see a player, he does something, and that moment they're reliving in their mind every time the guy touches the ball, whether he really does anything or not, because he had a great moment. What you're looking for is the consistency of the player. And so that's basically how you determine who's the best player out there.
And
so,
the problem with that, one thing that you said over the weekend at Disney is like when Hugo made that one play where he dribbled and then the rest of the game he was looking for that same exact play.
Yeah.
That's kind of the problem with picking players based on them doing a moment, because then they're kind of obsessed with looking for that play in that circumstance, like dribbling through a couple players every single time, and that doesn't translate to a team structure, even though it worked once when you maybe saw them. But if that's kind of their habit, to look for these kinds of plays and not also consider the best time to turn around or just play the ball, keep the ball moving and switching, then you think you have a player and he doesn't really fit.
Well, that's why I said as a scout, that's why I said you can't get caught in the moment.
Yeah,
exactly.
You have to see what they're actually doing throughout the consistency of the game, because
Right.
all those players who get to that level, they're going to be able to create a moment or something in the game.
Right.
But
yeah, but then he's speaking to is like somebody does that moment, and it's almost like a childish reaction. If a little toddler does something and everybody laughs in the room, they're going to keep doing that until
Exactly.
everyone's sick of it. And it's like almost the same mentality of a kid as a player. Oh yeah, I this is my thing. I whatever. I do this move and whatever. But yeah, no, I get that. That makes a lot of sense.
But it's hard though, because you have to balance that with the fact that like you don't always get a lot of touches in those combines, so like there is a pressure to like make something happen and be sort of irrational, and it's unfair because there were some players there, especially I think Daniel was a player that kind of didn't give him the ball as much as he probably could to show what he could do, because he was better than a lot of those guys, like some of those other guys. But that's kind of the nature of the combine, and that's also why it's not super common anywhere else in the world.
Yeah, I don't think, and to his point, I don't think if I'm doing something, I'm not gonna run a combine per se, because I just don't think it's an effective way to really choose the best of players. You know what I mean? Because you have to pull them out of their environments where they're in their structure, because it just makes the most sense. Now, if you have a professional environment, it's just better to invite guys into your professional environment to see how they do within your structure if you think they're talented enough in their environment. Instead of randomly putting a bunch of guys together. So it's kind of
like I've got a team, I've got a structure. I'm intrigued by that player. I'm going to get more out of inviting him to train with my team for a couple sessions than I will watching him for 2 days.
100%. 100%. Because you're putting them with random players that are all fighting for this 1 or 2 slots that they may select from. So even though the quality is really good, you could have he's not going to be able to display the way he would unless you just play him in your environment. So I think you would save a lot of time and even money than just saying, hey, instead of me flying all these guys out to this thing, just, select a couple guys, bring them in. Even if you give them 3 training sessions or 4, you'll be able to see within a week's time, you'll run through enough players to see who really makes sense to keep them along rather than looking at 22, 23 players.
No, that's true. Going back just a little bit before, when you talked about in the moment, right? But I wonder how hard is that for a scout not to be in a moment when a guy really makes a wow play And it's funny because I know you're saying you're looking for consistency,
Mm-hmm.
how often they make the right play and the great plays and things of that nature. But if they just make that one wild play that kind of maybe would indicate there's some freak of athletic nature or something like that. Like I remember, and that goes across sports, right? Because I remember I talked about this on the show about a month ago, how the 76ers owner forced us to draft a guy he saw in a workout, pre-draft workout. This guy just did a between the legs dunk, and he's like, "That's who we're drafting," and that was it, right?
That was the owner who said that?
The owner, yeah, the owner. We had to set out to draft Mikal Bridges.
Mm-hmm.
And
We did draft him, and then
we
you
did
traded
draft him. But in the pre-draft workout, we had this other guy who came in, just did a between the legs dunk, and we that's the guy he really wanted. So he forced to trade Mikal and this guy is not even in the league anymore.
But I
he's
think
not even
that
playing overseas.
that like affirms what these two
I
guys
know,
are
I
saying.
know.
Like,
But how hard is it?
Yeah.
I guess is what I'm saying to go away from that. If a guy really makes that one wild play,
It's easy because that's why if you're a really good scout, you understand the difference. If you notice, you said an owner did that.
Yeah.
And the issue was when the owner made that decision, I guarantee if you ask most of those scouts, they didn't agree with him. But he's the owner. So it's his money, it's his team. He makes the decision.
Yeah.
But if you ask most of those scouts, they could tell the difference between this character and that character. So a lot of the time, like I said, if you are less intellectual about the game, you get caught. Even in that combine the day before, remember I was showing you that young Haitian kid who was born 04. His name, I'm not going to mention his name, but, he's talented. And inside that play, he had the most electrifying play that I saw in the event where he was trapped in the corner by the of the end line. He did a bicycle kick from the ground up, flicked the ball up, did a bike, put it in, and the UVA guy who just got drafted that same weekend scored a header. I mean, by far, where I was sitting with some of the scouts, and they said, "What is that?" I mean, it was something electrifying, right?
Yeah.
And he was probably the youngest kid at the combine. But then at the same time, his first 5 to 6 touches, he lost the ball, right? So he was inconsistent, though he had that amazing flash. Yeah. So if you're naive, you could see that moment and see a couple other good plays he makes and say, this kid is the kid. But if you understand more, you'll understand that some guy who didn't have that necessarily phenomenal moment of the weekend was still doing a lot more in the game than him. You see what I mean?
Yeah.
So when you start to see that, now if I'm scouting and I see a kid who's that young at the event doing that, I'm going to say that, and he did have some other moments, I'm going to say if you could clean his game up, depending how much he wants to learn and listen, then you have something there. Yeah. Because he's so young and he's able to produce these kind of moments because he had more than just that moment that I'm speaking of, that there's something there. But you got to see how much does he want to learn and clean up those older 5 or 6 possessions that he's just losing on trying to do too much. You see what I mean?
Yeah, exactly.
So you have to weigh everything according to age, trajectory of what you feel the player's ability. So you can't go crazy and say, well, because he lost the ball too much, I don't want to take this kid even though he shows some flashes, because you also have to consider how old is he, what's his experience level compared to the other players, and if they were as young as him, because that kid is straight out of Haiti, right? And he's only having a Haiti Caribbean experience compared to these guys who've been playing at UVA, at Clemson, all that, playing more mature soccer. So they're going to make smarter decisions than him. Doesn't necessarily mean they're going to be better than him in 2 years if you gave him what those kids have. You see what I'm telling you?
Yeah, exactly.
So you got to be smart enough to weigh all the equations inside of that.
It's funny when we had the GM5 combine, and the way I went into that, they did some drills at this combine, and then they broke into teams, kind of like not like any other combine. The guys were just kind of put together randomly and whatever. I was looking for guys that it kind of consistent with what you're saying, a guy players that are just naturally involved in the game and have an impact, and then what decisions are they making? Is their only decision to shoot and to score, or are they making other decisions to maybe pass, to maybe get a hold of the ball when their team seems like they're a little out of control and frantic.
Setting solid screens.
And it's like which player out of this 5-man unit does the game just sort of gravitate to? And that to me was what I was kind of looking for. And then once I identify that player or 2 players in each group, then I start to kind of mentally compare those, the attributes of those guys versus each other. Or if like the next cycle of scrimmage pits one against the other, now I get a nice little comparison.
I mean,
in direct competition.
The other side to what he's saying also is, and I think it's a little bit different when you talk about soccer compared to maybe basketball when you talk about first round, second round draft picks, is like the other thing you have to consider when a lot of these guys in the MLS are looking for players in the draft from college, they're not looking for a guy that's going to start. So they do tend to take, and I think also you have to consider that a lot of scouts aren't very good in the United States, so they do get caught up in the woo-wah. But they're also not looking
Hey,
for.
listen,
feel this-
I didn't say that. Listen, all the
you feel
scouts
this-
out there.
That came through proxy. That came through proxy.
All the
This came
scouts
from
out
him.
there, I did not say
feel
that.
this,
Don't attach me to his
No,
statement.
I'm
You feel this
Think of it.
European arrogance just
It's funny how you said that. I called that out right
Oh,
away when
yes,
it came to me. I was
yes,
like, dude, hey, you
They
sound
get
too
caught up in the woo
But they're not looking for a guy to come in and be a starter or a contributor. They're looking for a guy, okay, maybe in the 1% that this guy might be a roster spot. But likelihood is they're going to cut most of these guys and they'll be playing the USO Championship before preseason ends. So they're not necessarily looking for a guy to make an impact.
Not as quick with the MLS Next Pro League.
Yeah,
Not-
that's different.
Not
That's
as quick.
different. But
Not as
before
quick.
the
Before,
MLS
I
Next,
agree
it was
with
kind of
that.
like, okay, we'll give you a chance, 2 weeks. If you're not that guy, we'll
Yeah,
see you.
with the Next Pro League, which is kind of like the D League, but it's taken more seriously.
Okay.
Because the D League is like no one
Yeah.
really takes that seriously. But this is
Yeah,
more
facts.
because I would consider it closer to minor league baseball, where guys are
Okay.
really coming
It's
out
like
of
a
it.
funnel.
And like
Yeah.
17, 18, 19 year the kids playing in this league.
that
for the
No, no,
most
no.
part. Well, there's older,
No,
but
they're way
a lot
older.
of the homegrowns go there.
Yeah, the
first,
the
first start.
homegrowns go there, but there's way far less homegrowns than what you're thinking.
For real?
Oh no,
Okay, yeah.
way more, way
I've
more.
only seen
But-
like 2 teams.
No,
play.
I mean every Next Pro team, if you really look at it, I mean they carry about probably 9 professional contracts, and then the rest of them are guys trying to play onto that, and then they drop first team guys down. So you may only have like 2 academy kids that are even touching that team. You see what I mean?
Jesus,
and then the rest of them are first team guys that they drop down,
Yeah.
and then the other guys that they sign pro.
That's closer to the modern G League
Okay.
because there's
Is the G League the D League now?
Yeah, yeah,
okay,
yeah, G League.
okay.
Yeah, because like basically even the first round picks from this most recent draft, something like 18 of the 30 have played G League games this year.
Okay. there you
And so you do have the drop down guys. They do have two-way guys, which are guys that are under a preferred contract that can play like a certain limited amount of games with the main team. But they play the majority of their games down there. And there's there are guys that are just kind of like the young Ignite team, which is kind of almost high school age guys or immediate post high school guys that are deemed to be kind of draftable material. They put them together and assemble them into a team and have them compete. So it's not as far as
From
I think
that
maybe
model.
you had. That model.
Yeah,
is
but
similarities.
Most of the kids Next Pro, I mean, most of the kids in MLS Next, which is just the academy, they're going to college. You know what I mean? That's what's happening to them. The Next Pro is still built for college draftees and built for first team guys that are not getting minutes and they're dropping down, and then they have the in between kids that are just signed pro. But it's not like that.
But especially the way he made it seemed like it's very, very hard to make it. So how are these guys making it to the top level?
To the
From
first
the
team.
draft, very few.
But you're right.
Yeah, like it's a really small percentage. I think there was someone was telling me that there's only one guy from the USO Championship, which is the second division, that went to the MLS in the last year.
Yeah.
So there's a
That's-
complete
that's- yeah,
disconnect
that's-
between.
Well, I think you got to start with the premise that college soccer is not really a first team professional pathway.
Okay.
That's not a route that you're
It
going to
could be.
go. It
Like you
could
said
be,
with the 10-month
but
season.
but if you compare it to what we see in football and basketball,
sure, yeah,
it's not similar.
No,
at
it's
all.
not. No, it's not.
It's really almost like an alternative pathway to first team pro level play, as opposed to what you see in the football and college.
Most guys that are going to get first team MLS contracts are coming from overseas, or that's the majority of it, because they want proven players that they know they could plug them in and play, or guys who already have established, who broke through the draft, got into the MLS, and have established MLS careers. But it's like if you look at Inter Miami, for example, right? You're in a hotbed like South Florida, and you have 2 kids that they have from South Florida that they're putting them in with the first team, and they're having them play. And then everyone else after that is Messi and his friends and some other guys around that. You know what I mean? That's the truth. of it.
He's like Giannis.
Yeah.
He
He's just
cares
calling his
pretty
friends
much.
in out of
Yeah.
retirement or just chilling.
Every news cycle they bring in a new friend.
Yeah, that's basically it. So if you're on Messi's contact list, you have a shot to play in Miami. But if you're not, and that's every team. Same thing with even in Orlando City. You don't see a bunch of homegrown kids playing on those teams. You're not going to see those things.
And the crazy thing, if you look at what an athletic hotbed Miami and South Florida is, like across the board.
Yeah.
And there's an MLS team right there that's literally not benefiting or doing anything with that.
So that's telling you, and that's even collegiately. You know what I mean? Like FIU has a good team. You don't see kids from FIU, but they'll get to maybe the next pro. Some of the top ones, that could happen to their B team. But to get to that first team, it's another animal. And as it should be, because the world's competitive. But you just need to know what you're up against. It's a real deal thing that you're up against. It's not easy to have guys, even to break on the next pro teams. It's not easy because even if you look at the next pro teams, they're signing guys. I have a couple of guys on those levels, and they're signing guys even from overseas. Some who played at PSG, some who played at Barcelona B teams, and they're bringing them over to play on the reserve team. Even Orlando City has some guys who played in good levels in Brazil that are on their B team.
Sure.
Wow.
That are on their B team, not even their first team.
Exactly.
So it's that competitive to try to get in.
Damn. Oh, that's interesting. Where do you want to go from here, Pink?
What was the other thing I was going to say? Oh, when you were talking about the younger guy in that that had the amazing touch out of the corner and so forth. When you're looking at a guy like that and you're looking at a player and you see some talent, as a coach, as a successful coach, like how much confidence do you have in your ability to look at a guy who's a little raw and feel like you can make the difference with that player?
Oh, I think it's big. I think that to go into what you're saying is, my club in itself is a small club, right? And we work with some kids, some college kids, and then some other kids that we bring in. And they're able to make an impact and play against professional teams in the United States. Like we played Inter Miami, we tied them. We played Houston Dynamo, we tied them. We beat Next Academy team. So, that's my job, is to be able to look at a guy, see him, and see what other people don't see. And because most of the players that I'm working with, even though people could say that they're talented players, but the majority of them, they wouldn't be in my program if they were able just to be selected. So their reason they're even with me is because they're looking for a pathway, they're looking for an opportunity. So to go to what Brian's talking about is I have to be able to see that player and see that he can do that if he learns these things, or if he's just put in a consistent, structured environment and given the information. One of the kids that we have that's playing professional right now was a reserve right back for a U17 team that is not a projected team to even make the World Cup. So let alone this kid is playing as a 6 now on a team that won the next pro national championship, right?
Right.
Is showing that I have to have the ability to see somebody and even move them positions and say, this is what you're going to be able to make your bread in. And they're able to do it. So that's what I pride myself in. So, for example, that young kid that you're talking about at that thing, he's someone that if I'm a pro scout, I'm going to identify, not because he had those moments, but he had a bunch of other flashy moments that showed that, okay, if you could just clean his touch up, meaning clean his thoughts up, not his touch, his thoughts, then you have something. So the first thing I would do is want to identify his character to see who is he as a person. Is he an idiot? Meaning, is he stubborn and doesn't want to learn?
We all know what an idiot is.
Or
mercifully, there's none of them here in the room.
Or is he somebody?
Especially since Ant left.
He's gonna clip that.
Cut that out.
Clip.
I couldn't resist that, man.
Or is he somebody, who has the potential to learn? Because I'm telling you, most of it is the brain thing once you get to that level.
And that's so that, like, I look at players in basketball a lot, and I dismiss guys all the time because I think they're idiots. And to me, I look sometimes like body language. I look at how they carry themselves and kind of like how they just interact. And I remember going to Coach K's clinic in at Duke when he was there back when JJ Redick was actually on the team at the time. And the one thing I remember he said kind of about recruiting from his perspective is he goes, if we're looking at a kid, we know the ability's already there. So we never go to a game to look at whether or not he can play basketball. We're going there to look at what he does during a timeout, look at what he does when a teammate makes a mistake, look at what he does when the coach is trying to talk to him, and then I'm gauging, okay, is this the type of person that we want in the Duke program? Because everybody in the top 50 can play. Now, what do you do to kind of assess whether somebody's an idiot or maybe something not?
It's funny. It's a lot of those things that you're talking about. Because when I first started dabbling with some of these players, the biggest difference was I was like, man, they're all so talented. And I thought, hey, I could just coach these kids and just take them to, higher levels. And then the first thing I actually started to recognize was the things that Coach K is talking about, because I'm sure he went through those experiences, which right away I said, who's actually going to clock the miles in, who's going to run, who's going to do these things, what is their personalities, what are their body languages? Because you could almost, if you could see the person, you could actually see the player. Because if you could see who that person is, then you could see what they're going to give for you on that field.
I've always said this. I said it during a banquet speech when I was at Oviedo. When you play pickup basketball with a person, you see who they are.
Yeah.
as a person. Like I can figure out what you are off the court by how you function on the court.
Yeah.
I've been a big believer in that and seldom wrong.
Yeah. And so if you could see that often, then you kind of know what you're dealing with, because in all high-level environments, there's going to be high degrees of stress. So if you're dealing with a player that has weak character, even though he's very talented, he's only going to be able to bring you so much in an aggressive environment, because whoever you're playing against is going to have quality talent as well. So if that person is weak mentally, meaning they only could give so much, then you're not going to be able, they're not going to bring you titles. They could maybe win you games and so on and so forth, but they can't give you what you're looking for, which is coach wants to build Patriot dynasties and things like that, consistent products. So you're not going to gain consistency from a flaky character. That's not, there's no way that's going to happen. Thus, you have never seen those kind of structures happen. I would take Guardiola, for example. If you look at the players that he picks up, there's no one in his top 3 outside of Holland that you look at and think this guy's going to bag me over 20 in a season. Yeah. You don't think Foden's going to do that. You don't think Grealish is going to do that. You don't think Silva's going to do that. But then his team will lead in scoring in the Prem over guys. Liverpool have to pick up guys who are projected to have 25 goals each. Even they have guys on the bench like that. Yeah. And you look at him, he don't score them, but he has consistent characters who are going to follow a structure and an order, and that produces that. But then some of the other guys, you have some emotional characters for that level, and it still creates an inconsistency. So you have to be able to see the person when you're trying to identify somebody. So like you said, their behavioral habits will tell you a lot, body language and everything. Like you said, when they make mistakes, a lot of stuff he talks about, those are things that I look at. There's guys that I talk to them on the phone when they try to come into my program that I could already tell you what I'm dealing with as a player just from the phone call, because I even asked him certain questions. Danny Ainge used to do that. I thought it was bullshit. The character testing at Boston. I said I was bullshit when I was about Bryson's age. I thought it was complete bullshit. Yeah, I thought it was complete bullshit. I was like, what kind of stupid logic is that? Like, he used to make them take some kind of character testing. I understand why. When I pick up certain kids, I'll ask them, why do you guys think your environment's like that? Right?
Meaning the team that they're currently on?
No, let's say the country they come from. Ask them political questions, not like who you vote for, but just political questions. Ask them societal stuff. I'll take them to places in the conversation. They don't even know why I'm taking them there. But I'm taking them there because the answers they give me, if I see mainly a lack of accountability and everything is on something else, then I know who I'm dealing with.
He wants Republicans.
He
wants some Republicans.
How did you, with all that analysis, how did you get fleeced by this guy?
I don't know. With all that analysis. I wasn't as wise then. This is years.
I know you used to start talking about women on the phone. It's like, where are we going with this conversation? What is this supposed to mean?
No, that's really good stuff, man.
From your perspective, because I think that this guy's probably the only coach you've ever respected in your life.
Yeah. Well, I respect him the most, for sure.
Yeah.
But I think
who else ranks?
I can't even think about all that. But
You're not going to rank me?
Could cut that one out? Just relax, man. You're in a different bracket. You're Pops. But I mean, I got to say, like, I think his best quality as a coach was definitely, like, how we got the average guy on the team to be functional. And I think that was really key when we were good back in the days, because we did have some 5 or 6 quality players, but we still had to get those other 5 to 10 guys on the team to be functional and contributing and to do their role and to get the basic things done just so we could be a team. And I think that's, like, a lot of coaches in America especially, and probably all over the world, struggle with that, getting that middle guy to be productive. Because you can always count on the top players, the attitude leaders, the mentality monsters, to do their role, but it's kind of getting those other guys to be functional within that system so that you can be successful. And he did that really well. You got guys like Fregley. Chris Fregley.
Listen, he's throwing shots out there.
He's picking us some guys off. I don't know.
But I'll tell you what, you know, when you are able to take guys who are hyper talented and who don't come from structured environments and trying to get them to become structured, to now be able to compete against those who are born in structured environments, that is the biggest challenge. Because when you're a player, when you're dealing with a Dennis Rodman character, so some of the players I deal with a lot of Dennis Rodman, meaning that, you know, they're more, because Dennis Rodman wasn't a talented basketball player in terms of technically and all that. Right. But I'm dealing with a lot of wild characters because, you know, what I'm dealing with is guys who they show signs of, you know, I have not Mbappe, but for example, like I said, you could go to a combine and you take an 18-year-old kid out of Haiti who's not even on the radar of being on a first team in Haiti, right? And he's able to be talented enough to do flashes of things and score goals as a winger. So that's telling you that country has a lot, and he's doing this against MLS draft guys, Clemson guys, and all that stuff. So imagine, compare that in football terms. You take some 18-year-old kid out of somewhere, and he could just play in a NFL combine versus all the FSU and didn't look really good. So that's telling you against 22, 23-year-olds, that's telling you this kid is, they have a lot of talent in that country.
Yeah.
But then at the same time, a lot of those kids, they'll think like Dennis Rodman, meaning like they're out of control because they come from a situation to where it's like that's the modus operandum, like that's how we roll.
Yeah.
And so to get them to be structured and functional is even harder than a player who knows he's not that good and knows that, I'm just happy to be next to some other players that are good and let me go for the ride.
Yeah, what can I figure out to do to just make myself helpless?
But when you have a guy who knows, like, I could play against, if we're playing USA tomorrow, I could really play against those guys. And now you're trying to tell him, yeah, you can, but you don't know how to play like that, and you got to play like this. And he's looking at you like, who are you?
No, that's funny because if you contrast to like the Bryson era team, that was like they had like good players at the front of the team, but the back end players, a lot of those guys, like their dads and parents were like literally like UF professors. Like these were super bright kids, and now you're talking about dudes who don't come from structure, and it's like going the complete other way.
And what's crazy about them is they, their ability, they're hyper intelligent in a way because they're able to perform. There was this one kid that we deal with, and I remember the guy that I used to work. I sound like Jay-Z now. The guy that I used to work with used to say that kid, he was in a country where he was on the national team, wouldn't go to training, right? Wouldn't go to training.
Wow.
And they still kept him around because they knew his ability was so high. Now, I would have never done that. I would just found another kid, right? But think about this. One day the guy goes, what's crazy if you really look at it? How is this kid so freaking good and he barely practices? You see what I'm telling you? And this kid was able to come to the U.S. and I got him a professional contract in the MLS in a year and a couple months.
Wow.
And this was a kid that was known for in Haiti that he would not show up to practice. You understand? Like when he got here, imagine what the habits I had to try to break into him.
Yeah.
You see what I mean? So all those kind of things like that is telling you like the genius of some of these kids, because it's like you're like Mozart, dude. You're not even. You know what I'm saying?
That is a crazy thing because there's the older I've gotten and the more like you really kind of understand like that work equates with results, and we look at these like different NBA guys and high level guys, and it's like so often the ones that really distinguish themselves, it's rooted in crazy work ethic and analysis and stuff like that. But then you kind of flash back and like there are some people out there that there's a freakish genius to it.
Yeah.
That like, what the hell's going on? Like, or you don't like to go to practice, but like, when did you get this good if it wasn't through practice?
And they don't. And so you see scenarios like that. Now, and I'm not advocating that because I know in the end, those things are kind of like a star. They flash and they'll burn. Most of the guys that have those steady careers, they have that Mamba mentality, or just they're at least normal within their work ethic. But it's just trying to tell you, like, what you could be dealing with. You could be dealing with a guy who doesn't even like to practice. But when you evaluate him, like, you have a high chance to be a professional. If you just could become even 5% normal, you're more than likely to break through the barrier because your talent is really that high. So, yeah.
What sort of techniques do you use to kind of bring some of these guys along? What is your approach to it?
You gotta get them. You gotta get to their personal life. You gotta see where they're coming from, and you got to get them to understand and objectively look at their life. And so you got to make them want to see more for themselves. You got to make them see it because you cannot want it for them. So you could just present them, but you got to get into their personal life, whether it's their family structure, the city they come from, the country. Because I'll deal with guys who come from war-torn cities politically, to where they're doing documentaries on these cities, and they're coming from those environments, right? So there's a couple kids that we've had that, have full rides to private schools like Drexel, for example, and, they didn't go to school for years. I'm talking about high school formative years in the countries they come
Oh,
from.
wow.
And they're holding, right now 3.8, 3.9 GPAs at Drexel, right? So these are kids that would have been thrown away in the country that they've come from. And so right now when we get there, but to get to those kids, it's a situation to where you got to make them, like I said, objectively see life, because there's a lot of ignorance surrounding them. That's why they're also behaving like that, because they have not been made aware. But then at the same time, you have to, you have to make them see that they want something better for themselves. And that's really the only way I could put it. So each character is a little bit different. There's no coded, like, you just do this and they do that. But you have to hit them in different ways. So sometimes I'll side talk a player, meaning that I'll address something collectively about, I had an incident, for example, of some players who did something they weren't supposed to do. But I used that as a moment to address another player that I needed him to change his behavior.
Right.
So I spoke to these other two guys about how disappointed I am in them, and in a way that made them look like, you guys got to be doing this for your family. I'm not your mother or your father, but, where they're coming from, what they're living like. So you want to do something for their life, and you got to be consistent. But really, while I'm saying that, I'm really talking to this guy. You know what I'm saying, dude? But I'm hitting these ones real hard.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But I'm hitting them real hard because I know if I hit that one that hard, he's too fragile psychologically, so he can't take it.
Yeah.
So at that moment, I got to be clever enough to hit them really hard, but then I'm really hitting them so hard so he could feel it. And I'm pulling him in as a captain of the group, meaning I'm going to talk to these guys about what they just did. But I need you here so that, you could confirm what I'm telling them.
Yeah.
But really, I'm hitting them with that.
No, that's smooth.
You see what I'm saying? So you got to get that deep with them psychologically, because a lot of them, they're insecure. They come from that culture, like he's talking about, where they want to put their ego first. So you got to learn how to tap their ego without tapping them out, because they'll also put you in a situation, I got to just kick this guy off. If you challenge him too hard, because he's going to want to challenge you.
It's
see
going to
what I mean?
clash. It's going to clash.
Yeah, it's going to clash.
Yeah,
So you got to learn how to get him in different ways.
No, that's for sure. That's a good point there. Once again, you guys are on the bench podcast with Bubba and Pink, home of sports, music, and mayhem. All righty here. Really quick here, I want to give a quick shout out to one of our sponsors here, Royal13thebrand.com. Again, that is Royal13thebrand.com. Use promo code Bubba Pink and get all of your gear at a discount here as we're trying to rush this winter along. Winter in quotes here. All right. All right, let's move along here. We're going to get into a start a bench segment with Coach Pink, and what we're going to do is give Pink we're going to talk about the trending topics that's happening in sports, music, and entertainment, and give you guys a minute. Give all three of you guys, just if you got a take on it or whatnot. We know Pink is going to have a take on it, or you can bench the topic. All right, that's how we're going to do it. All right, now let's go here. So where we at here? All right. Pink, let's start here. I'm telling you, man, I'm going to need glasses soon, man. I can't look at the screen anymore.
I cannot wait to get my eye procedure on Friday.
And I'm really close. Let's go with...
I'm giving Stevie Wonder a run for his money.
Let's go with NFL playoffs. Start a bench.
Start the playoffs. They're about to start in real life.
They are. Did you know that the Kansas City Chiefs and Miami Dolphins are playing on Saturday, but they're playing on Peacock? It's not going to be on cable television.
Yeah.
It's going to be on the app Peacock. Is this where sports is going? You need cable, you need apps, you need this, you need that.
That's already where it's gone.
Do you like it?
I don't like it. I almost want to go back to like one system of just charge me $1,000 a month, and as long as I can watch everything I want to watch, y'all can fuck off. No, but this is the direction it's going, because for all these apps to compete, they need, kind of like exclusive properties that they know have a huge audience.
Yeah. And
then they pull it onto the app only, and it makes you get the subscription. I mean, I've been dealing with this for 4 or 5 years with soccer. Like each league in a different country and the Champions League, they're all on different apps. So I've already got them all.
Right.
You know, maybe newcomers like you will be struggling on Saturday to watch your team. But
Yeah, I already got all the apps because if you want to watch the Prem or La Liga or any of the soccer things, you gotta get it. The soccer's been on that stuff.
Whose account are you using?
Huh?
Whose account are you using?
Stop.
I know that's I know you don't got Peacock.
Stop. I got Peacock and I got what's that other one? YouTube TV.
Oh,
Now.
you got the 3-month trial.
no, it's serious. I mean, sadly, if you're already a soccer football fan, you're already.
You've been on.
So
that.
they're ahead of the
This is
curve.
nothing.
They've been
Well,
on
Suckers ahead of the
I mean,
curve.
ahead of the curve, maybe in their sense, they've abused us for a couple years already.
I think the NFL and them are probably trying to get more worldwide, and so they're probably moving in that direction, kind of because soccer's been on that worldwide scale. So I think it's part of it.
And they're playing more and more games overseas during the NFL season. They're in
Yeah,
Germany last 2 years, is it? And then
And they had 2
England.
games in Germany.
Yeah, in England, I think they've been in there for 5 or 6 years at least.
Oh, I didn't even think about that. That is a point there. Moving from network television, cable TV, into the apps, make your game more visible to the entire world.
Yeah, almost
Potentially.
Yeah.
Yeah, potentially. Yeah. Okay. All right. Well, that doesn't make me as angry as I was before, because I can just get somebody else's account.
For now, they're gonna get you on.
Yeah.
They're gonna
Netflix
figure
is
that out.
already cracking
Yeah,
down.
exactly.
So everybody else is gonna follow suit.
Yeah.
All right. To a topic I know is going to be dear to Pink's heart here. Dunkin' Donuts, start a bench.
Start Dunkin' Donuts.
This is actually a national story, and when I looked it up, it's actually right here in Winter Park. It's a Dunkin' Donuts in Winter Park, but this was a national story that was like everywhere.
I didn't know it at all.
Yeah, I know, right? So in Winter Park, Florida, Dunkin' Donut, a guy is suing, and he's actually he's seeking a 6 figures here because he went to use the bathroom and the toilet exploded on him. And all type of human feces.
Yes.
What is that?
He was covered, fully covered in
Another
human
man's feces.
and urine. And he's seeking bodily damages here.
Bodily injury damage.
Bodily injury damages.
That's awesome. I mean, why did the toilet explode?
It's some type of mechanical
I mean, like,
failure.
It's only 10 minutes away. You can go investigate. He said Winter Park.
that's what I don't understand how a toilet explodes. That's pretty intriguing. I mean, like, did a pipe burst? And I mean,
Probably so.
usually
And I wanna-
people go to the bathroom, they flush it, it goes out of sight. I mean, how far deep did this fucking explosion of shit come from?
And
You remember that Key and Peele segment? Where does my dookie go?
Yeah. What is my
Yeah. If the dookie can get out of the hood, maybe we can too. But that's pretty spectacular. I mean, I'm not sure you've suffered much of an injury in all seriousness. I mean, nothing a couple showers couldn't fix.
Yeah, but
I mean, you're not permanently maimed.
That's pretty fucked up.
they're gonna have to pay me though.
Yeah, that's pretty fucked up.
I don't
They're
think,
gonna have to unhand some money.
I don't think that's 6-figure damage, to be honest.
What's your number?
Maybe 5 or 10K.
Okay.
Yeah.
5 or 10K.
Shortchange
Dude, you
yourself.
just need a shower.
5 or 10K.
That's it.
You
After
used to
tax.
shit.
What is he suing over? What is he gonna say? Damages from what? Like
That's I mean, that's
We're saying
what
that
key
they,
word
they
here.
failed to maintain the premises by allowing this toilet to just spontaneously explode on him. Then his damage, like again, if you're just covered in shit for a period of time, like that's not horrific
Psychological.
damage.
that's what I'm saying. So what?
Yeah, it's negligible to me.
Yeah.
It's 5 or 10K.
Yeah.
It's not 6 figures. I mean, like,
You saw the kid that tried to sue FC Dallas?
no, for what?
Yes, for like 100 or 40 million or 100.
But wait, what
million.
what was the
He
basis of
said
his
that
injury?
he was an academy product who was late to training, so he was forced to train with the younger kids. He ended up getting hurt in that session, tore his ACL. Parents tried to sue FC Dallas for,
For
like 40 million or 100, saying his, what he could project. to be.
Right. Projected.
He lost the case miserably.
You would
Yeah.
because again, like an
But he
ACL
tried.
tear
That's a
is
big thing.
it's all. I mean, it's almost an assumption of risk. I mean,
Yeah.
you're playing a sport. There's a rate of injury to that sport, and as long as you're injured doing the sporting activity, there's nothing there.
There was a
Yeah.
liability waiver too.
Yeah, well, that's
At
what I'm
some
saying.
point, too.
Yeah.
But I mean, you're not going to be able to successfully like waive liability if something ridiculous happened. Like you're scrimmaging and some groundskeeper guy backs a little tractor onto the field. You run into it,
Yeah,
suspectedly. Signing a liability waiver is not protecting the club in that situation. But if you're hurt participating in a soccer activity, a training activity,
Yeah,
there's nothing there.
and the parents are trying to say, "Oh, it's because he played down." To his
You
ability.
might. I mean, if it went the other
That's what
way.
they said.
No, I
That's
mean,
the- yeah,
if
that's-
it went the other way and you have like a 10-year-old and he's scrimmaging 16-year-olds,
Yeah.
and like the injury results from getting like trucked over by somebody, maybe. But the
Yeah.
other way doesn't make any sense at
Yeah.
all.
And he was late.
They
He's
said
late
he
for
was
training.
late, so he got punished. And the punishment was
punishment.
training with the younger
Yeah.
kids.
Yeah.
So they tried to just force the
Go
issue.
train with the toddlers.
Yeah.
You're late. I don't care.
As
Don't
soon,
be
as
late.
soon as that evidence was introduced, Bubba's out 0.
Yeah. He's during his recovery. He's gonna be like, damn, I should have been on time.
You know he's not gonna be doing that.
Yeah, I know, right?
He's gonna have no accountability whatsoever.
Let's go with college football. Start a bench.
Well, it's over.
Bench.
You wanna
Yeah, I really don't.
you guys got to get over it, man.
We
At
There's
don't.
some point,
there's no getting over.
you're gonna have to. Life goes on, all right.
Nah, it doesn't. I'm not getting over that. I mean, that's just a fucking injustice. You know.
It sucks anyways, though.
I mean,
Aside from
did the
that.
Jewish folks have to get over the Holocaust too, Bubba?
Yes. I don't. That's.
I
Come
thought
on,
there's
man. We're
no
not
Jew
trying to
talk.
get canceled, man. Yeah, no Jew.
No Jew
Thank
talk.
you,
It's been the
man.
rules
Thank you.
before.
No Jew talk.
Do
That's-
the rules.
black
say,
folks
man.
have to get over slavery?
no black talk either. All right. Let's go to Kawhi Leonard. Start a bench.
Oh man, I hate this guy.
What the
He's the most boring star in sports. Just is, but we'll start him.
He has a extension, max extension, man. 3 years, a ton of money.
Yeah,
Do you think they should have done it?
he'll be severely injured in 30 days.
Yeah. Clippers are crazy
He
for
will.
that one. Yeah, Clippers
will.
are crazy for that one.
His health record is atrocious. He won't make it to the playoffs healthy.
He's been fairly healthy this year so far.
Right, but why? To get this extension.
Mm.
That's what it is.
You think he's secretly a part of the Get the Bag crew?
I know he's a part of the Get the Bag crew. I mean, honestly, fuck that dude. Because if he was really about playing, he would have been playing a whole lot more over the last 4 or 5 years. He's too comfortable being on injured reserve.
There's a real thing with athletes. Like there's a real thing to where, if you see a guy, just as from speaking as a coach, because I've dealt with that before, when you see a guy who's comfortable not playing, but still getting the check, you need to drop that guy.
That's a red flag.
Yeah, it's
Yeah.
a big red flag.
Huge red flag.
Yeah, big red flag. And
Yeah.
you can't be dropping
Like his
franchise money on him.
No, that's true. I like that. I partially agree. I'm a Kawhi guy.
I like Kawhi too.
Yeah, so
You like motherfuckers that sit out.
I didn't like Ben
When he
Simmons.
plays, man.
Okay. Let's go to let's go down here to KD. Start a bench.
KD, why not?
Yeah. So of course the big report came out last week. They was really frustrated with the team, possibly seeking trades. But even though Phoenix is struggling, he's saying that he's not looking for a trade or anything. Should KD look for a trade now that Phoenix is sputtering? And
KD should fire himself as his own personal general manager because he's done a horrible job since leaving Golden State. It's never been his move to express that he's unhappy, so he kind of just lets things fester, and then I think he pushes for the move behind the scenes. If I'm KD, that team's not going anywhere, so I might as well move.
Yeah, I agree. I think, basketball, short career or relatively short, go to where, you can maximize your dollar and maximize your visibility in championship. Why play on a losing team? Doesn't make sense if you're the star.
so you're not an old school guy. Stick it out with your team.
He already lost that when he left OKC, though.
Yeah, I know.
He might as well just start chasing her.
I mean,
at this point.
At this point.
I never believed in that because the owners, I played sports, so you got to know that.
Did you?
Relatively. You got to know that, when you get deep into it, the owners are real, man. Like, just like you give me the draft story.
Yeah.
So owners are real. So when you start getting, it's hard for me to be a team guy because you understand that behind the team, meaning what's being played on the field, there's so much behind that. Yeah. So once you start to understand that, you got to think about yourself when it comes to especially when you get into that professional realm. I could see it on the amateur level, depending on what the program's providing for you. But when you get into that professional world, it's dog eat dog. That's like the backboard thing. What's that guy that put it off the backboard and grabbed his own rebound? You know what I'm talking about. He did that to get his stats.
Oh yeah.
You know what I'm talking about?
To pad his stats, he needed an extra
Yeah.
rebound for a triple.
Now, that's disgusting behavior.
Yeah.
But to me, it's reflective of what there's coaches that have pulled guys off from getting yards to make sure they don't hit
AB,
their thing.
Antonio
So
Brown.
so when you start to understand that that's what they're dabbling in, if you're not aware, you could say that's disgusting. But once you're aware, he's just showing you like this is what it is, and this is what we're dealing with. So you got to understand that's the world you're in.
No, I agree completely. You're not rewarded for being loyal. Like as an athlete, you have an uncertain window of time to play out your career. Yeah. And every year that you spend in a situation that can't win or is flawed is a wasted year. And so to me, you have to ruthlessly pursue, especially when you're a legitimate top level guy, you have to ruthlessly pursue championship opportunities, winning opportunities.
Yeah. I got you. That's partly the reason why I say Embiid should go to Golden State and just say fuck it.
I agree.
It's about time.
Rack up some rings. It's about time. All right, Boosie, little Boosie, start the bench.
Start him.
Oh damn! I thought his ass split on the bench.
Nah, let him talk.
He's been starting every week.
If it was Cardi B,
he got a story every week. Though,
she'd be on her back, on her knees,
Boosie
and on
gotta
the
sit his
bench.
ass down.
Yeah, Boosie has something. We talked
Every
about
week,
him
man.
a lot of stuff during. Yeah, he's a lot of week. But this week, not too bad here. But he's saying that he feels like a failure because his kids do not live with him. But so not talking about Boosie in general, just talking about this as a general thought process. You know, if you have kids and you end up moving on from the lady there, should you feel like a failure if the kids are living with the mom and not with you? That's what I kind of wanted to tap into.
It will affect the relationship and access you have to your kids, and if you value that, then that would be a loss. Like I don't know any other way to see that. Like you can have situations where there's open access or whatever, but the reality is if it's not truly full access, it's not full access. Yeah. And there's situations that are outside your control in that situation, environmental things that are outside your control, and that would be a tough pill to swallow.
Bryson, your kids don't live with you, do they?
Nah, I don't know where. Can't find them.
Can't find it.
I think it's
All right though.
I think it's a bit of a cultural thing too, meaning that if you coming from a male dominant society, then if you have
Where's
kids,
that woman dominant side here? Did you watch too much Wonder Woman?
well, if you're Jonathan Major, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah, okay.
Yeah. So
Why wasn't he in the starter bench?
yeah,
I
so
know, right?
if you see something to where if I have kids with somebody, I would more than likely want to leave them with the mother. Now, what Brian's talking about access, I would want access to see my children. But in terms of them not necessarily living with me, then that depends. If I have a young woman, I don't, she probably needs to live with her mother, but I still have full access to, help raise her. If I have a young man, I'd probably want him with me to make sure that I'm raising him in the ways that, so I think it's relative to the scenario, but I don't know his personal situation
right.
and his access, but I think it's relative to what you're talking about in terms of, where do you know if them living with you a failure or not? Because I think it just depends on the sex and who you're dealing with.
Oh, that's a good point. All right, the last two, I'm just going to sum up here. Siakam wants a max contract. I don't think he deserves one. So he's trying to, Toronto wants to trade him, but he's putting out messages to other teams like, hey, I want a max, so if you trade for me.
Yeah, he's not a max player.
Yeah, so it's like Sacramento,
he's not
declining.
even particularly close to that.
Yeah, but that's what he wants, and I don't know. I don't know if he's
what I don't like about the NBA money structure is with the cap and with that situation with the maxes and so forth, it flattens the top and there's no differentiation.
There's no differentiation.
And so, you could have a guy like, Giannis or Embiid or Jokic or whatever, legitimately.
Tobias makes the same amount of money as Luka Doncic, and that is fucking insane.
And that's what I'm saying. Like those guys, and throw Luka in the guys I just mentioned, you can almost justify paying them just about anything. Yeah. And that would make good financial sense. But in the current structure, you have a situation where there a Tobias Harris, or perhaps somebody does pay Siakam that level of money that they're making the same as a player who genuinely moves the needle, both on the court with performance, but even commercially.
Picture this: Jaylen Brown is the highest paid player in NBA history right now.
Yeah, it's ridiculous. And I like Jaylen Brown as a player. He just signed. And again, it becomes
Is
a
it
timing
circumstantial
thing.
though?
Circumstantial.
Yeah,
in the
yeah,
sense that,
yeah.
he became
Circumstantial.
eligible at this moment
At
to
this
sign this
moment,
contract,
yeah.
and the next time a player is. But that's the thing. The ceiling does kind of keep rising, but it's kind of who's the first to be at the ceiling at the window
Who's
that
the
it's
first
rising.
good
That's
player.
where he
Yeah.
was.
You know what I mean?
So the next time around, it'll be somebody else will be there and surpass that.
That could go back to the Kawhi thing though, because maybe in their circumstance they could say we don't really have somebody to pick up to make the franchise face according to their circumstance. So we got to
there's
throw them
something
this
to that.
money.
There's something to that.
You know what I'm saying to you? That could be circumstantial.
And they're moving into a brand new stadium. They want to have something.
I think that they're overreacting
Brandon Arena.
to a moment, and right now they're having a good moment.
They are.
They're all
They are.
healthy. They're playing well. James Harden is integrated well, and things are very good right now. And I think they're overreacting to that by throwing out an extension at this time. Is there anything? And maybe I'm wrong. Is there anything mechanically CBA wise that they have to do it right now, or they can't do it, or could they just wait till the season plays out and then make a decision?
But
in
the
summer?
thing is,
They could, but he'll be a unrestricted free agent. He
Right.
could leave.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And they
Okay.
may not wanna
but the
do
thing
that.
is, I think they're also thinking if he's healthy for 1 year, they're favorites to win a ring. So I know it's 3 years, it's a risk. Maybe he gets injured one of these, but the year that he's healthy, I think everyone kind of agrees Clippers make the run.
But he's been there 3 or 4 years,
Yeah.
and he hasn't been healthy yet. And this is the year it might happen, and you've got these other pieces. Play that out. Don't pay that out.
You might not get the opportunity if you don't pay him now, though. I think
This
that's
is
also
this
the-
is the season. Make it happen now, or it ain't
I
gonna
mean,
happen.
the Clippers are going to
He's
be
only
done for a
getting
while.
older.
After this, the Clippers are done for a while.
They're gonna be done.
they're
They're
gonna
gonna
be
be done
rebuilding.
well before this contract extension ends.
You think?
Hell yes. He's getting older, dude, and he has a deplorable health record.
Hold on, clip this tape.
I'll
this
stand
tape.
on this all day.
You're going to
Because
die
I'm
on it,
not a
too.
Kawhi with I ain't gonna die on it.
Let's see.
His knees will die before I die. Damn sure.
You're looking good this year.
The last one, the one you guys passed on, I just want to let you know what you guys passed on here, is the college. So they're looking to create a new bowl. It's probably most likely going to happen, to where it's for the worst two teams in college football.
It could
and
be
they're
the
gonna call it
Dunkin'
the-
Donuts Feces Bowl. Played it at Showalter Field in Winter Park.
They need to stop that thing, man. The Bulls.
Yeah.
It's just
The Bulls are terrible.
It's so watered down. It's so
Yeah.
corny.
I like
Just-
that bowl, though.
just
That'd
put-
be kind of funny.
The
The two worst teams? That'd be kind of funny. It might be better
Because you
than
don't
the
want to
ones.
lose that game, and you'll be the worst team in college football, and you'll be highlighted. Like right now, I have no idea who's the worst team in college football.
And there's
out
going
of
to be no
all the schools.
opt-outs. All those boys are playing that game.
They're probably, I mean, anybody that
They're gonna
could
be ripping and rolling for that.
No, because
They're all zero. They get that one win in the season.
You know what I mean?
like
We gotta
guys,
get a
guys
game.
might opt out if they're trying to transfer to get to a halfway decent.
Who's transferred
school.
from the worst school in college football?
There's always a player or two that knows they can play at a better level, and they're just there by circumstance.
I think we're talking about the bottom.
I
don't
get
know
it,
what
but
two teams
still.
he's
Yeah, I don't know.
I kinda
Yeah,
wanna
yeah.
know, but-
I know. See, right now we have no idea, but if they create this bowl game, you're
You
gonna
ain't-
know.
Now we know.
You're not gonna watch that.
I'm not gonna watch,
That's
but
the-
I
that's
want
the point.
to notate it.
That's
Let's
the
stop
point.
it.
Bubba just wants
the
to be an idle
highlights.
fanboy with no skin in the game. I mean,
They'll
who
have to
cares?
add some stuff to it, though. They'll have to add some.
Free beer.
Like what?
You know what I mean? Yeah.
Free
I
beer,
don't know,
Free beer
something.
halftime.
free tequila, strippers, cocaine, all the favorites.
Now you're in the mode. Now you're thinking.
That's right.
Really quick here before we move to the NBA, really quickly here. So I'm not the biggest soccer person, right? Big news, but Pink put me on to a show, and I want to ask you guys, how close is this to reality? Ted Lasso.
Oh, I love
How?
that show.
Huh?
You watched it?
No. I watched it for 15 minutes. Actually.
Ah.
You
Couldn't handle
couldn't have.
It's too ignorant.
Yeah,
So
you
is it that far? Is it, how close is it to reality as far
Soccer
as
wise, it's a joke. Soccer wise, it's a joke.
what do you mean, like the actual playing?
All of it, like
Yeah,
anything
yeah.
soccer related. The notion that this American football coach in the Midwest can go do anything, it's ridiculous. It's absurd. Like you can't get stupider. But as a show, it's just
great.
well written.
Yeah.
And like
That's what I
the way
took
the
away from it.
storylines, the way they
callbacks.
write things. I mean, the reality is like I mean, it's like, yes, the milieu of the show is soccer, but it's like, I would watch a show of that writing in a bunch of other environments than that because of the way that story's told.
Okay.
It feels like what's that show? Like an Office or kind of like a theme. Not
I'm not an Office guy.
I'm a huge Office guy.
Is it?
Yeah,
Is
I'm
it?
not.
But I feel like it's like a quiet humor, like The Office. That's what I'm talking about. I don't know.
Yeah, it is. It's more subtle.
Yeah.
It's
Yeah,
not.
it's
It's
subtle.
not. Yeah,
it's
which I prefer because it's like what I don't like about the average sitcom is like good. And I went to a recording of the Cosby Show back in the day. Didn't get date raped though. But
You wouldn't know that. You wouldn't know that.
I was conscious the whole time. And when
That's
I
your
woke
thing.
up, my pants were still buttoned and my ass wasn't bleeding.
He's careful.
So he's careful.
make it
but
30 years.
no, but like literally though, like like something would happen, there'd be a punchline, and they'd literally have like an applause or laughing. That's corny as fuck to me.
contrived.
And most sitcoms are that's kind of the way they go. But Lasso, you watch that show, and it's just like a lot of dumb people miss the jokes. Like they don't even get that it's a comedy. Probably.
Yeah.
They're just watching, thinking they're watching like a real show.
Yeah.
About soccer.
You know, actually, American coaches complained about that show.
Oh,
They
yeah?
said it makes
Jesse
them-
March, right?
They said it makes them look stupid.
Yeah,
in Europe.
Jesse March
Because
said that?
people,
Yeah, he
people
did.
will call them
Oh,
Ted Lasso.
that's a label.
That's even the play on it. The play on it is
No, it was
about.
like it was
Go ahead, go
literally
ahead.
it was literally a guy. There was a guy, Jesse March, American guy. He's probably the only coach that's had like any degree of success overseas in like a European league.
Has he?
A little bit. He was okay in the
Let me be
Austrian
careful.
league.
Let me be careful.
A little bit of success, but he got a coaching job in England during the run of Ted Lasso, and like literally the press was referring to him as Ted Lasso.
Oh wow.
Yeah. So you see, they don't like it because it portrays a stereotype. Because see, American players and coaches feel disrespected. Like remember when we were talking about Bryson's European arrogance? So they feel like that's a real thing.
Yeah.
So when you go to Europe, they'll tell you about the levels. And I was actually discussing that with Bryson because I was like, look. He's living in Germany right now. And I agree that the overall level of football is higher. But there is a strong exaggeration. No different than the European player and South American player in the NBA. Meaning that stereotype like, oh, they can't really come in here and ball like that. And there's that thing to where, a player is a player. So if the guy's a player, he's going to be a player no matter where he goes. And I think now the NBA is more open to that understanding. But back in the day, Ginobili and all those guys, that was like, oh, wow, they're from Argentina and they can play in the NBA. And Americans, what they're dealing with right now is that reality of where, but, if you sit in Orlando, there's players here from the United States that are getting signed from Barcelona. Now, they're not coming out of the typical college pathway, but that's literally happening where kids are coming out of Mount Verde Academy and signing on to Barcelona. So there's players here, and that's just a reality to it. So I think you just got to know where to find them and where you're looking at, and I think that's really it.
Exactly.
But did you make it all the way through Ted Lasso?
Oh hell yeah.
Yeah.
Couldn't make it 15 minutes.
You got to take that little arrogant coach hat off and just enjoy the show, man.
Dude,
Enjoy
that's
the
legit,
show for
though.
what it
You
is.
can't. You have to separate yourself from the soccer. It's not a soccer
He's over there
show.
looking at the tactics and shit.
Yeah.
It's not even
What's he
I'm
doing
just
there?
looking like, this
Yeah, that's
shit
not
is
gonna work.
stupid.
Lighten up, man. That's
When
good.
that guy started crying on the scene, one of his assistants or something. I was like, what am I looking at?
No, that's hilarious, man. That's hilarious. It wasn't NBA, it was NFL because, like I said, we talked a little bit earlier about the Chiefs and Dolphins. What is the most anticipated game you're thinking about watching this weekend here? What's the most anticipated matchup?
I mean, the two teams I enjoy the most are the Dolphins Chiefs game. I like
you kind of latched on to the Dolphins earlier.
Yeah, I enjoy Mike McDaniel, but they've been softer than a baby's ass when it matters. So I find it hard to believe that they'll win in Kansas City. But Kansas City, by the same token, has been pretty vulnerable most of the year.
Yeah.
So
Don't forget the Tua curse. In
What's the Tua curse?
In cold weather, Tua can't
He's
throw.
terrible.
I mean, I think Dolphins always lose games when it's
Is
below
Tua a
freezing.
small hand guy?
No idea.
Okay.
Yeah, no idea either.
All right.
But that seems to trend, for those quarterbacks there. Now, YouTube has been giving you some shit now about the Texans. They dug up. This is the first. I think this is maybe the first time this even happened to us.
The Texans?
Yeah, this is the first time it's happened to us.
What do we say about the Texans?
They drug up an old clip that we had. So we talked about the pre-draft about C.J. Stroud,
Yes.
and you wasn't a C.J. Stroud.
That's right.
guy.
That's right.
And we had some people dig that video up. I had
like it.
forgot we had even did that.
Oh, I
clip.
know I trashed CJ Stroud.
Yeah, you trashed them, and then they're like, "Oh, look at you now. What the fuck do you know? Why are you on the mic?" But that happens. We get stuff wrong, and you do whatever. But yeah, they're playing the Browns. Is that a game you're going to be interested? The Browns have called on fire late, especially
I mean, here's the thing. Like I'll watch most of the games.
Yeah,
I'm not
yeah.
like gonna avoid a game. It's a playoff game. There's some significance to it.
It's not college football. You're not avoiding it.
It's right. I protested against those fuckers. But yeah, I mean, I'll watch that game. I've enjoyed the Joe Flacco story.
Yeah, for real.
So I'm actually gonna root for the Browns to beat Ohio State.
We want to see
CJ
Flacco
Stroud.
against the Ravens.
Yeah.
That was a little sour.
Yeah.
Flacco didn't really I don't think Flacco really lost his job.
What do you mean?
I mean, he lost his job, but I think he still had a couple of good years ahead of him. So I think he's a little
He
bit
really
salty.
didn't flourish immediately after leaving, though.
No. But he got injured he got injured both those years. I'm pretty sure he hasn't had a full healthy season as a starter.
What's the Flacco?
That's what
story?
happens when you get old.
Deep in soccer, what's going on with the Flacco story?
Tell him about the
Joe Flacco was the Ravens quarterback before Lamar. When they went with Lamar, they kind of pushed Joe out. He went to a couple other places, bounced around, and got injured, didn't finish seasons. He was on the couch doing nothing. Deshaun Watson, the anal massage guy, he got injured and had to leave, and they signed Flacco off his couch. And they've been I think 4 or 5-1.
5-1.
And he's played great. It's not like he's managing the team. Like statistically, he's throwing the ball downfield. Good touchdown to interception ratio. Been really, really productive. And so, if they win their first round playoff game, they have a chance to play the Ravens, which would be an interesting dynamic.
A huge story.
Yeah.
Yeah. Which I am definitely rooting for to happen. What happened to the Jags, man?
Collapse, man. Just a collapse. They I think they were 1-5 down the stretch, and ironically, the only game they won was when Trevor didn't play. To me, I know they suffered the Kirk injury, which was his favorite receiver, and that kind of struggled with them. But to me, Trevor was not good enough. He was bad down the stretch. A lot of turnovers. I was arguing with my other son last night. The first interception last game was one of the deflected balls, and somebody gets it, so you don't put it entirely on him. But the one late was on him completely. And then even the fourth down pass to keep the season alive, he didn't give that guy a chance to catch the ball.
Yeah.
And they didn't have a good line. There's a lot of built-in excuses. But when you're that guy, you got to do better.
I had a couple of dollars on a preseason bet that they'll make the playoffs, man. I think
felt like a good bet for most of the year.
Trevor owes me, I think.
He does, man. Maybe he'll give you a lock of his hair.
Maybe he needs that career arc, cut his hair.
I'm all about that. It helped. It helped.
I think the best game this weekend is going to be that.
It helped Trent at Liverpool.
That Baker Mayfield, man.
You think the Eagles Bucks is going to be the Eagles?
It's an interesting game.
They're such an unwatchable team now. And they're so unrecognizable.
They really feel and probably smell like sour milk.
Yeah.
I think they're trash right now.
If they were on the regular slate, I probably wouldn't watch. But they pushed it to Monday night, so what else is there to do?
Yeah.
Unless I have a Tinder girl come through. But yeah. But so
apps than that, man. You need to get off that.
This is
I did get off. I'm on Facebook dating now. but Eagles Bucks. Yeah, the defense is awful, and Jalen has been off. I would be shocked if they even beat the Bucks, and the Bucks are like an average team.
The biggest if you're an Eagles fan, I do feel like you catch a little bit of a break because the Bucks aren't great. They're good.
Right.
They're not on any special role per se.
Right.
But so even a battered Eagles team, I think, has a chance in this game. But I think the Bucks will win.
It's in Tampa Bay too.
Yeah.
So that's the other thing.
Yeah, I think
Fire the cannons, baby.
I think the Eagles are done. And back to really quick here. I wanted to make a comment on my Chiefs there because I'm a huge Kansas City Chiefs fan. I do think that I know it's in the cold and I know we're at home, but that none of that stuff has mattered this year. Being at home hasn't mattered. We lost coming off a bye when Andy Reid never loses coming off a bye this year. And we have the worst group of receivers that I've ever seen in my entire life on any team, on any organization. That's Pop Warner, college, anything. These guys are god awful. All right. And this year, if they were if this team was any semblance of a good team, especially the offense, I know the defense has been pretty good. They will be talking. What's the word I'm looking for?
Three-peat or not?
Yeah,
Three-peat.
it's a back-to-back, but also the franchise, not the word
dynasty.
They would be talking dynasty for the Kansas City Chiefs. They would be talking, Mahomes in a GOAT conversation. You know how they do, but instead, everyone's talking about the Ravens and Browns even over the Chiefs.
Yeah. There's no
crazy.
significant. There's no strong belief that they're making a run. I think even people regard Buffalo as a little dangerous.
Yeah, and
They
so
are, though.
oh, for sure.
That's an interesting game too.
And so on one end I think about that, but on the other end I think about every dynasty, or you think about the Patriots, they didn't win every year. So they had off years. They had years where they didn't win.
And a lot of
They
times
just made
when
the
they
playoffs and
lost, it was almost for the same reason. Like they'd get to the playoffs because that's what they did, and they would look bad. They would be exposed. Maybe they didn't have offensive weapons. They didn't have receivers, and they'd lose a game to a mediocre playoff team, and you'd feel like, man, is this the end of the Patriots? I mean, how many times did it? There was probably 3 to 4 times when it felt like the end of the Patriots before it actually was the end of the Patriots. Yeah, and they went in with unbalanced rosters and just couldn't get results. But I do think it's funny. Both Super Bowl teams from last year, neither one's close to what they were last year going into the playoffs, but in a way they both got relatively favorable first-round matchups.
Yeah,
Miami in the cold, and Miami hasn't beaten good teams, and then the Bucs, being a good but not exceptional team.
I'm just kind of surprised KC never really got they had a free agency to get a receiver, a wide receiver one, and I think before the season they should look at DeAndre Hopkins or somebody like that.
Yeah,
like that. Get somebody. I mean, I could have seen that receiving core from day one and told you that ain't gonna give you shit unless Patty Mahomes balls his ass off. But
yeah, I think our GM Veach was being very stubborn and just
too much faith in Patty, I guess.
No, I think there was probably a certain arrogance to it that as long as we got Pat and we got Kelsey, we'll get a few guys to make a few catches, we'll be okay. And then they weren't.
And Kelsey is clearly not the same.
He fell off.
Yeah. He's the older guy, and that's going to happen when you play a ton of football.
You get to the end of this year, and I don't know his exact contractual status, but is there a scenario where the Chiefs move on from Kelsey?
No,
not at all.
Nah, he's a lifer. You just have to get more help at on the receiver end. That's all. Okay, so that's that talk here. Now, we're gonna end the show here. I have about a 10-minute thing I'm gonna do. I'm gonna address something from last week. You guys will stick around, or you guys do what you like, and then we're gonna end the show. All right? I know it's only 10 minutes, right? So I don't know.
Ride it out.
Guess you can
might get interesting.
It might. I don't know.
Is this a rant?
It's a rant wrap up. Okay.
Rant wrap up. Okay.
Yeah, it's a rant wrap up. So I did my rant last week. Okay.
What did you rant about? I forgot. It was so unforgettable.
About HBCU football.
Oh,
and
yes.
Willie Simmons leaving FAMU for a Duke. And I received a ton of comments on social media and YouTube. And I want to appreciate you guys for checking the video out and having a healthy dialogue and all of that good stuff. All right. Some of you guys were cussing me out and stuff like that. And that's cool too. All right. But
not so healthy, but still cool.
Yeah, but still cool. So, but appreciate you guys on that dialogue. And I wanted to make myself clear here on what really is my gripe here with Willie leaving FAMU for Duke, okay? And here goes my thing. So I understand what you guys are saying about the money, okay? And I can even admit that I was a little misleading and misleading about the contract he's receiving because, yes, he has a $1.5 million contract, but it is over 5 years that he was currently making at FAMU, okay? And, yes, Duke's offer is roughly about $500,000 a season, which, of course, if you do that out at FAM, that's $300,000.
Yeah,
okay,
$200K a season.
Now, FAMU's alumni did raise about $200, a little bit more, thousand to match that offer, but it's only for 1 year, right?
Okay.
So who knows what year 2, year 3, year 4 is going to bring? Okay. All right. So I understand that point. My thing is, okay. Number one, winning to any organization on any level, it brings more revenue, okay? So his contract is not a lifetime contract, Okay, so if he wins more, continues to win more at FAMU, he took over FAMU when they were the worst team in the conference, one of the worst teams in the conference. That's the $1.5 million contract is off of that contract. If he continues to win and he won the conference, he won his bowl game, something that Deion Sanders didn't even do at Jackson State. If you continue to win at that level, more money is going to come. That's just how sports work, people. Okay, all right. That's my first point. My second point to that is, the main reason why I want these guys to stay, I wish these guys would stay. I'm not mad. I'm disappointed. These are guys who are great coaches, and they are great leaders of men. Not only are what they do for the students and the people who come to these HBCUs, these guys who come to HBCUs, not only that point, but these guys could not even get interviews at these PWIs and these bigger colleges. People fail to forget Deion Sanders did not just wake up one day and want to coach and went to Jackson State. He was begging for Florida State to fucking hire him as a head coach. He wanted to coach, okay? And every big PWI, every big college in the world wouldn't even bring him in for an interview. There would be no Coach Prime if there wasn't for Jackson State, okay? There would be no Coach Prime at all. There would be no Willie Simmons if it wasn't for FAMU. There would be no Coach Jenkins if it wasn't for Bethune-Cookman. These guys are getting their start at these HBCUs. They're using us and throwing us away like a used tampon, okay?
Not a condom?
Or a condom.
Okay.
And I just don't use those. So so my thing is, it's
Rightly
like,
so.
I understand, okay, they're doing the right thing for their family, but it's like, okay, I mean, what? 50,000 is really going to make a difference? How many diapers can you buy with that? Okay, like, can you make a difference in the community that gave you your start? Can you just finish it out, see it through? We're only asking for 1 or 2 more years. You know what I mean? You win 1 year, then you leave and take the big bag. Like, can you just see it through? You're getting the top players. You're getting top players to come to the team. Okay, like I said, like my years during Bethune-Cookman, we beat 2 Division I schools. A lot of people are talking about, what do you mean they can beat Duke? They can't beat Duke. What are you talking about? This is a HBCU. They can't beat anybody. No, that's not true. When you get a good coach, a great coach to come in, and you're getting, like I said on the last show, Jackson State got the #1 overall player in the entire nation. You get a couple more of those guys come in, and yes, you can compete with Duke. During my years at Bethune-Cookman, we beat 2 Division I schools. We were those Division I schools were favored by like 50, 40 points, and we beat them in those games because we had a great coach who brought in a great mentality and brought in good players, transfer players, but even before the transfer portal was even, the change and the big thing. So I'm just disappointed because I wish those guys would stick it out and see the process through and see if we really can create an environment and a team that can compete with these top level D1s. That's the rant wrap up. Okay.
All right. Comment on that?
Yeah, you can. Yeah, go ahead.
I think it's a lot of managed expectations, though. Meaning, you see what you said? You said Deion went for all these other jobs, and then it's like Jackson State was the one who took him in. So the thing is, I think sometimes we're looking at these cats as like one big monolith. Like, this guy's coming in here to revolutionize the HBCUs. And really, he's just like, look, this is a job I could get, and I'm going to take this job. No different than if some lower-end school took him, and he would just take it anyway. That's not a HBCU, just to say at least I get my foot in the door. So I think it's the expectations that we have on these guys that we're looking at them like you have the capacity to do something big, but they don't have that mentality to do something big. He's not going to be loyal to Colorado State just like he wasn't loyal to Jackson State.
That's why we said get that Alabama job.
Yeah. So I think that's the thing. But I think it's the vision and the potential that we could see. There was someone that showed me back in the day. I was watching, not even someone, it was a 30 for 30. I was watching how some of these HBCUs used to beat Duke and all them back in the day before they integrated the sports.
Was kicking ass.
People don't even know about those stories.
Yeah.
That's what even created the integrational process to try to include these guys in the sports and stuff like that. So when you start to see that, I think it's just if we have to look at the individual to be like, what's your intention? Are you just here because this is the job you could get? or are you really here to be like, no, I'm here for the long term to try to build something? And I think once they take those jobs, we're looking at them like, this guy's here to build something.
That's a great point, and you're 100% right. But we covered Jackson State Media Day, the Deion's like first time. All those guys, not just Deion. I don't want to say lie, but they put on the moniker like, yeah, I'm here because HBCU needed this help, and
Exactly.
and I'm here for the culture, and I'm here for this, and I'm here for that, and this, and that's what he was really championing. You remember that, Pink, right?
Yeah, no,
that's what his whole conference was about.
Deion can't hide.
But it's not just him too. It's
Deion can't hide from that because he that was a big part of his opening stuff. I mean, if people want to run back us on C.J. Stroud, they ought to run back Deion too. But I mean, the Willie Simmons, I don't recall his opening press conferences or what he may or may not have said at that time. As far as that goes. But yeah, but again, it's. Is it lying? Is it not? Like, whatever. Like, any coach that takes a job in any setting is going to come in those press conferences, talk it up.
I think so.
That's,
This is your
all I'm
vision.
looking at.
Yeah.
I believe that's what I'm
This
saying.
is my
That's true.
vision. This is whatever. And I mean, and that thing matters.
And it's going to get people riled up. It's going to get it's going to get
Yeah.
the town. It's going to get them involved.
for sure. And
ready.
that's the job.
But a
you
champion
know?
like Deion coming back to coach HBCU, that's a big deal.
It was humongous.
It's a big,
It was
it's a
humongous.
huge deal.
Yeah.
And I think some of those guys, they don't fit the calling of that job. Their persona fits it, but meaning what it would require to say, I'm going to turn down all this other stuff that could come if I start having success and say, this is what I'm going to be here for, to try to build it to what everybody obviously emotionally is hoping that he could do that. That's a big bill, meaning that he has to emotionally be invested in that. And I just don't think a lot of those guys are invested in that. I mean, to his credit, I don't think he's invested in Colorado State. That's just the guy who gave him the
Colorado,
job.
by the way.
Yeah, Colorado. Sorry.
Yeah.
That's who gave him the job. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
He don't give two damns.
Yeah.
And that's why, I mean, overall, I like Deion. Overall, I respect what he's done. But the cowboy hat is bullshit. Motherfucker ain't wearing a cowboy
That's
hat like
overkill.
that. It's stupid. It's corny.
But that's what I'm saying, though. He's doing
But
that.
he's going all. I mean, he's 10
Yeah,
toes
wherever
in.
he is,
I
he's
guess he only
Coach
8
Prime.
toes in because that's all he's got.
Yeah.
But-
If he was,
man.
if he was coaching in New Mexico, he would,
Sombrero.
he'd be with the,
But to Bubba's point, it would be interesting to see what it looks like after year 1 and 2. If they stick with it for like 3-4 years, Deion was building some momentum. I don't think it was too crazy to think within 2 years if Deion stayed that they do play at a crazy level. Then they start playing D1 teams consistently and beating them.
Yeah, no,
And that's why it's interesting to see where it goes.
That's the tease that I think emotionally draws you into the story. That, like, hell, it's kind of possible. There's a pathway
It
to
is
do
if they
it.
all stayed. Like if
Yeah.
3-4 coaches stay in this HBCU conference, I mean, what does that conference look like in 5-10 years?
That's it,
Yeah.
man.
Yeah.
And
That's
they
it.
have to understand
That's
that because
what-
they're
yeah.
kind of showing it already.
Yeah. No,
They're showing you with like one season what they can do.
But I also like the other thing. I will go back on the Deion stuff is that, like, as that the third Jackson State season evolved, like, he's getting there, and there's a lot of like infrastructure issues at the school that are rearing their head. There's a lot of, like, he had the feud with the Who's Swag stuff like that.
Yeah.
And there was a tide of sort of resentment against him, and it's like, on some level, just as a human, if you're not built for that long-term thing, you're gonna hit those resistance points and those obstacles and be like, why am I doing that? Like, I mean, I'm big enough at this point. Somebody, I'm gonna put my hat in the ring at a
But isn't
PWI.
that I don't even want to go like a general, but isn't that black people to a degree in all sorts of industries? They start to show you that this is an independent thing. We can do this by ourselves, and then the first pushback comes, or a little bit of this, or the money looks better back in the traditional society, and they jump ship before they start to see where this really fosters. It happens at all levels.
I
at some
think
point.
that's what's promoted. I don't think that's all necessarily true, because it's like if you look at someone like what Nipsey was doing in his neighborhood, right?
Yeah, he's a difference, but Jay-Z.
Huh?
Like, where did Jay-Z?
Yeah,
go
but that's
from that
but that's
is-
also because the media chooses to promote what Jay-Z's
Yeah.
doing compared to, like, Nipsey wasn't really nationally known
Yeah.
until he died.
Yeah.
And he was known in LA. That's why he sold out the Staples Center in his funeral. But people knew what he was doing with the
They're
media.
selling tickets to the funeral.
No, when I say sold
Oh,
out,
okay.
meaning it was, what
It
I'm
was a
saying.
packed house.
It was a packed house.
I said, Bryson, you got to sell some tickets.
But they didn't want to do that. They
I
didn't want
want
to
Boys
give
to
him that
Man
kind of
and
attention.
Amazing Grace on the bagpipe.
So I just think you
No,
have
that's
to
a
be
good
built.
point.
You have to be built to deal with that. I mean, me dealing in Haiti is real, but you don't hear no one's going to talk about what I'm doing in Haiti.
Yeah.
And, maybe if I get popped, maybe it'll show up on some Games on News, local coach dies in Haiti. But, I mean, realistically, no one's talking
Local
about that
soccer
stuff.
coach.
You know what I mean? And that's real. So the first thing you learn when you're really trying to do something, most of the time, you're not going to be talked about. That's actually the truth. And you just have to be built to do it or not. And if you're not, you're really not going to be there. When everyone talked about he died in his neighborhood, I mean, most people die in their neighborhoods. I mean, where else would you want to die? In, not your neighborhood? So it doesn't, all that stuff like that. That's just kind of propaganda talk like that.
Yeah.
Where else do you want to die?
I mean, I'm there.
Yeah, it's a good point. I was trying to think of some options myself. Like, what's
I'd rather
up?
die on the beach or something. I got shot in my neighborhood. Okay. It's not that big.
Let me read some of these comments before we get off here. Kobe was saying that 6 figures ain't enough. That's for the guy who got the feces blown up on him at Dunkin' Donuts.
Man, y'all think too much of yourselves. Don't forget, you were shitting your pants at one point.
Let me tell you something, man. I would have to change lawyers because the how you talking, I need more than 6 figures, man. Just Black is saying, he said the Dolphins have been struggling in big games, and then he told me that misleading and lying is the same thing. He said more money won't inevitably come at these HBCUs, and these HBCUs shouldn't have to raise money last minute. They should be raising money indefinitely. Yeah.
That is an interesting concept though. Like again, you said they hustle together $200K like to keep it for 1 year.
Yeah.
But it's like again, if the school financial community is seeing the rise of the program as it is, like they should have been fundraising and maximizing dollars.
It was a quicker. That's a 1 year thing.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? It wasn't. I mean, don't get me wrong. I know he was there for 4 or 5 years, but it was a really, from being average to a great team was like that.
That happened quick, yeah.
You know, it
I
happened
mean, a year
really
before
quick.
they got smashed by Dion. At Jackson State.
Yeah. So he was a great coach, and he was doing. I guess you had the same way all college football coaches. You have to get your guys in.
Yeah.
You have to implement your system and all this and that. But by the time he got it, man. And I don't know. I don't like that point.
Here's
but
a question.
Some other good
This is
points.
shifting gears, but I want to ask you. So, like, you do your best to bring a team together and bring in a group of guys. Like, sometimes, though, you'll end up with a guy or two or whatever that's just not working out.
Mm-hmm.
Like, they just really don't fit the group or the culture. Sometimes, though, that player can be still significant enough that you still have to get something out of him.
Mm-hmm.
And like, what are your thoughts on that and how to deal with that and cope with that? Sometimes it just feels like you have to ride the thing out till a proper breaking point when you can part ways with a guy and kind of rebuild it. Or do you have another take on that?
No, I think the best way to deal with any situation is you got to evaluate, meaning if you need him, let's say, for example, you have a superstar who you realize, like, culturally, this guy's not good for my culture, but we do need him to try to compete this season.
Yeah.
And I'm already stuck with him.
Yeah.
So at that point, you just got to try to figure out enough mind games to keep him on track enough for you to keep your program productive enough to entice the other guys to replace him. And the minute you get a chance to pull that trigger, you pull that trigger and you get rid of him.
Yeah.
But that's the only thing I could say. But there's times you have to deal with what they call the necessary evil, meaning that you know what he is. And you know this is not a long-term solution, but I banked on this. This is the wrong decision. But I got to ride it out now because if you tank the whole ship, then that replacement that you're trying to bring in to help keep your culture going or rebuild, you won't even be able to tempt that to bring it in because you just shattered the whole thing. So as a coach at that point, you got to just put your ego aside and realize I'm going to manage to deal with this player. But the minute I get to cut him, then now it's all on. Yeah, then we're going to part ways.
No, that's about the mentality I had. But yeah, sometimes it's frustrating because you're sitting there and you're like, God, I just want to get through this season.
I've dealt with it several times. And I had to learn to just, you got to bite the bullet sometimes. That's why I said to hold that power, you got to lower yourself to raise it. It's not like a punk mentality. It's just a mentality that you got to sometimes know that this is not time for me to shine. I got to just do this for the program and let this guy ride himself out. And then once I can, then I'll step up and take him down.
Exactly. All right,
But
man.
I feel you
Well,
on the HBCUs though, because
Yeah.
I feel heavily about that. Meaning, I feel that some of those guys need to step up and take that chance to actually build something, because they'll be more notable than if they're just trying to become Nick Saban, for example. If they're able to do that at a HBCU, then the career that it's going to take them to be Nick Saban, they'll get to that legendary status a lot quicker if they did it there, because that's something that has not been
just
done.
hasn't been done.
Yeah, so they could actually, what they're trying to get short term, if he actually takes the time to put that together, within a decade, he could already create a legendary career that's unheard of. He could go down the history books.
Something unprecedented.
Yeah, there you go. That's how you have to think. It's kind of like if you win the World Cup with France or Brazil, phenomenal. If you win the World Cup with Haiti,
Or if
you're
you
a
win
legend forever.
or if you win the Champions League with Porto.
Exactly. You're the special one. There you go.
Yeah, special.
That's my guy.
Yeah.
Netflix documentary coming out on him.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah.
Okay.
Dropping soon.
What do you feel happened to him, man? He fell off
He
hard.
felt bad.
He fell off hard.
He started, for me, at Real Madrid, he brought the conflict into the locker room. In his heyday, he was masterful at protecting the locker room and creating the conflict outside. He'd provoke other coaches, other teams, officials. Everything was external. But then at Real Madrid, at somewhere along the way, he started to feud with personalities inside the locker room. And he's never truly recovered from that.
Yeah. That's a good point, because he is never – I don't think he's been a contender in any Champions League or league title.
Long time.
Yeah, I think, remember Manchester's second place a while back?
But that was
He had second. I think he won it with the second shift in Chelsea, won the EPL with Hazard and those guys one time.
Yeah.
That was since Real Madrid, that was the one singular season, and then Manchester United had the second place in the Europa League title.
But I think some of it's tactically, man. I think.
I think his tactical got stuck in the mud.
Yeah, the game evolves.
Yeah, it got stuck in the mud for sure.
It's like if Bryson came back and saw me running activities that I was running with him, it's a failure. Like, you have to be on top of it. And I think just like anything else, that's in any industry. I was listening to, you know Godfrey, man, that comedian?
I know he is, yeah.
Godfrey?
Yeah. Funny cat.
Yeah, very funny.
Saw him twice in Orlando. Well, once in Orlando, one in Tampa.
He came to Eatonville one time, which is where I'm from, and did this video.
Yeah, he's
about
funny
historical,
guy. But he was talking about that a comedian, his intelligence will determine how relevant he stays. And a lot of times with people, you see it with coaches, they're going to get stuck in some kind of, well, I used to win like this or win like that. And they keep trying to reduplicate that instead of evolving into what is now current.
No, and we kind of touch on that with Dabo Sweeney in college football. With like, he was slow to the transfer portal, slow to accept NIL. The guys that adapted quickest to that environment. You could go to college basketball when John Calipari adopted to the one and dones with AD and that first group of guys. Like or John Wall, you had a competitive advantage by diving into that quickly, figuring it out, and maximizing advantage. But you do have to continue to evolve. That's why I'm really kind of skeptical and down on old people, because it's such a struggle for them to do that, to keep the mind fresh and the ideas fresh. And
is it an old thing?
What's that?
Is it an old thing?
Because I think it's very difficult for older people to do. It's a higher level of resistance to stay innovative at an older age, but there's certainly younger people that could get stuck.
I always say this, you genius, right? When people call people a genius, I found that to be not a necessarily overrated saying, because they are unique, but I think it's an overrated word, meaning that it's more what people are not capable of doing, which makes them so unique, more than what they're actually doing. Because a lot of people, when you look at them, they're very mediocre because they have a hard time. If you look at Kobe's story, terrible at 12, 13, and then he's getting drafted at 17. So is that really because Kobe's most sports athletes, if you're terrible at 12, 13,
you're terrible forever.
That's it.
Yeah.
So, but he discusses all the time.
That was me. Yeah.
I worked on my game. I did this, and he attacked the right things, and then he's able to get drafted by 17. Yeah. So is that really because Kobe's so special in terms of his, ability? Or is it because a lot of people are just mediocre at what they're, even if they're talented, they're mediocre mentally?
Okay, that's not where I thought you were going with that. But no, I understand what you're saying. Yeah, I mean, like the reality. I mean, if you look at the term extraordinary, it's extraordinary. Like you're something. You're doing something. But again, like the difference is not always tremendous because there's the mental side, there's the physical side, and all that. So it's like the differences are relatively subtle, but when they play out, they can become much bigger in that sense.
And the reason I brought that up, because that's what I was saying, even young people, because you'll have a lot of young, innovative people, but at the same time, there's a lot of young people that are just like, I think it goes across the board, young or old. It's just, are you that guy or are you not that guy? And I don't think people really evolve into being that guy. I just think it's either, are you that guy? Meaning, yes, you could be smarter, because I feel like I've gotten better with age.
Well,
so I think I was always that guy.
But you're not at the level of age that I'm talking about. I think I just think it's a human thing. When people get to 60, 65, 70, and you just, the way you think, the way your physical energy, your capabilities, your mind, it starts to erode.
Pink's been trying to lower the age of the president for like 100 years now.
Forever. I think people, I'm a firm believer. People over 65 should not be holding high office. I don't care who you are, what party you're affiliated to. I mean, I talk to older people at work sometimes. My parents have aged. They're shells of their former selves. You know, I mean, and like, it's unrealistic to believe that Joe Biden or one of these other guys is like capacity-wise that much different than my dad.
How long have I known you for?
That's a tough question. Maybe 13, 12, maybe a decade.
Close to a decade or maybe a decade, right?
You've seen me decay.
No,
with the
No,
45
well, that was gonna be my point. The person that I met when I met you, meaning you're on top of things and you're this and you're that, right? I have not seen that. I had somebody that I knew that was a very intelligent person, did some time away. Let's just put it like that, right? Did some time away enough to where when they were coming out, they were an old person, like senior citizen old.
Right.
And they were on top of things as if they never went away. And I just think it's because it's either you're that guy or you're not that guy. I don't see that if I meet you in another 10 years. I don't see.
Old fool.
Yeah, I see you be having the same conversations.
But
I don't see you being that guy.
He'll probably criticize me a lot, but I do a lot of, like, I stay intentionally active, purposefully engaged in stuff, so I don't do that.
You've always done that, though.
That's true. That's all I know. That's all I know.
Well, that's his point, though.
That's
my point.
You're the type of person who will always do that, and there's people that will always do
even
that.
when they're 19,
Even
they're
when
just like.
But those people, and I number myself among them, are exceptional.
Let's end the show
I
here,
don't
man.
disagree.
These people got to
That's
get
what
in
he's
here.
doing, man.
Yeah. These people got to get in here,
That's
man.
what he's doing. That was the little rap.
Can't
Yeah,
help
that
it.
was a good
Right.
rap. Appreciate you guys. Bryson may have a future. He knows when to wrap it up. Catch you guys next week on the bench.
Bryson does know when to wrap it up. I don't have any grandkids yet.